what you want.
Welcome back. No means
And
nerd. No means no
you
Nick. No means
getting what you
nothingness
need.
is to the No Means Nothing, No Means No Thing podcast, episode 51. The podcast where three absolute complete fucking idiots do their very, very best to try to find the best No Means No song of all time. Spoilers. There isn't one. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So you all know me. I'm one of your hosts. Well, maybe you don't. I'm one of your hosts, Jordon.
I'm Matthew. Hello.
I'm Michelle, your belle.
And you remember us. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here in just a minute. But before we do, last week we had a guest podcast host, which that episode was fucking great and makes me wonder how we can still do this podcast when there's that other guy, Sean, out there who could also do one really well. But that was really enjoyable. That was fucking great. So, Sean, thank you for doing that and for filling in for us. Even though that wasn't his intention, we held that one in our back pocket for a little while. Because for the first time ever, us three assholes met live and cuddly and in person up in the north. It was pretty fucking great. Great White North. Yeah. I flew up and Strangey picked me up. We drove up, got Matthew in Vancouver, and then drove farther north where we had the absolute once in a lifetime honor of getting to meet I got to meet these guys have already met before and kind of hang out around the bonfire with one Mr. John Wright, which was pretty fucking spectacular, I must say. And
Bucket list.
Colin McRae from Pigment Vehicle, and we also got to see Scott Henderson. We were up there. It was just I don't even know what to tell you guys. It was fucking wild. And their lovely wives. Oh my God, the meal that John's wife cooked for us was I still lingers in my mind.
Really interesting artistic partner, Stephanie.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
It was a good time.
Yeah, man. And I never figured
Jason Lamb came with us, and that was cool too. I'd never met him in the flesh either.
Yeah, we got to Matthew's house.
From Victoria and everything like that.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was a no means no palooza in a certain respect, or maybe a no means no thing podcast palooza. I don't know, but
bunch of no means no paloozas.
Yeah, there you go. It was great fun. I will never, ever, ever, ever forget it.
Right.
And yeah, super fucking grateful, John. If you're out there listening, man, that was a total blast. And
man,
you're
sorry we drank all that whiskey.
And,
I want to get you
totally belying the
bottle.
Old tenet. Does don't meet your heroes, because that was
meet this guy. I'll tell you what.
That's the exception, right?
It was way fucking just one of the nicest people I've ever met, and got to see the drum set that Wrong was recorded on. That was like one of those fucking like, are you kidding me? Here it is. Yeah. And the keyboard that Slowly Melting was recorded on. By the way, confirmation, the guitar solo in Slowly Melting was indeed a keyboard, not a guitar. The ripping one. You all know what I'm talking about. And I got to see that keyboard, and I was just slack-jawed.
You asked John, he's like, yeah, it's a keyboard. It's right there.
It's right there.
Oh, my God.
Fucking kidding me? Anyway, I mean, there's plenty of anecdotes we should share, but I don't know. Maybe they'll come out over time as we record this.
Right.
Yeah. But anything else you guys want to? Go for it.
Not really. Just we said at the outset of the show, there's 3 tremendous idiots, and everybody got bored of us, so we decided to start bringing a 4th idiot on board. So without further ado, we should introduce our 4th very gracious idiot. Somebody want to do it?
Andy.
Yes.
It's not Andy.
You do it, Strangey.
Don't bury the
No. Oh, yeah, right. I should put the last name. And no, it's not Andy Kerr. Sorry, but it's another Andy. It is equally cool. His name is Andy Sandall. He's from the UK, and he used to be on the message board as Sandy. If anybody remembers that old message board where we all met together.
Hell yeah.
Sandy was on there.
Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on. There's been many message boards, all the way back to Friends of Incentive.
Oh yeah.
Satan stole my teddy bear.
Teddy bear, right?
The
Sarah
Wrong
Francis.
Records.
Wrong Records.
Yeah, the At My Desk.
At My
was
Desk.
the first place I ever came across No Means No online, and then the Wrong Records forum where Rob downloaded his laptop. And then all the way up to the No Means Whatever.
No Means Whatever
podcast.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, that's it's been a long, strange history, and here we are in the 2020s, still keeping it going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, man,
Oh,
we're
man.
thrilled. We're thrilled. And
Time.
as you know, having listened to the podcast for at least a couple episodes, we play this game, The Power of Positive Drinking, and we like to start with our guests. So, Andy, what are you drinking?
So I am really bringing the big guns because I feel so honored to have been asked, and I feel I need to set the bar high with this.
Oh boy.
So you in the Zoom. So I have my Pappy Van Winkle bourbon. I am breaking out.
Nice.
My 12-year-old Pappy Van Winkle. So I'm going to pour myself a bourbon. I thought all the different things I could do, whether to promote a local brewery or some wine I liked.
But looks like he's fallen in love.
But I'm going to go with some Pappy Van Winkle with you tonight.
Jeez. Wow.
Yum.
Well, you picked some good songs. Like I couldn't really be going with the Johnny Walker Red or anything like that.
Yeah, holy shit, we got the Titans on deck today.
We didn't pick him. The fucking Terrible Machine did that.
The Terrible Machine picked him.
This is a tough one. This is some
really,
really good songs.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a double pour probably, and I'm with you. I've got some single malt whiskey here today, not bourbon for me today, but close. So I'm gonna probably knock this back real quick so I can be nice and juiced to talk about these songs.
Juiced.
Matthew, how about you? No, Michelle. We always go.
Oh yeah, I'm sad to say I don't have any Guinness tonight.
I'm
really upset about it. So I had to raid the fridge upstairs, and I just grabbed some local Kolsch premium lager that I'm going to drink out of my genius cup.
Excellent. At least it's in a Guinness glass. Guinness is still being represented somehow.
It's in a Guinness glass. So here I go.
Excellent.
It's not really exciting to listen to.
No, not really.
This is just a regular beer. Holy shit! My microphone's all the way on the other side of the room. I didn't even move it over.
Oh, that sounds better. Look at that.
Does it?
Now I can hear
okay.
you.
Well, that's way better.
I'm sorry.
That's why you don't sound all tinny.
Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah, it was over on the other side of the room.
All right, Maddie, what you got for us?
So I went out earlier in the week to get some beer for the podcast, and then our friend at the show and friend in real life, Byron Slack, came by for yard beers with me, and we drank those beers. And I went back to the place where I had got those beers, and I really liked that beer. It is a smoked lager from Lupolo Brewing, but they didn't have it at the place, so I got this one purely it's a beer type that I like quite a bit. It's a Schwarz beer from Mountain View Brewing, Hope, BC, which is actually where Byron and his brother Adam lived and partially grew up. It is kind of a no means no name, though. The Dark Side of Town.
Oh,
nice.
There it is.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
purple.
Nice.
Look at the eyeballs. It's purple eyeballs.
Pick it up. That's pretty
with
cool.
a goddamn black label. That's cool.
Excellent.
Googly eyes.
It's a good one. The Dark Side.
Yeah, that smoke. Talking about smoked beer makes me think that's what John was pouring us around the fire.
Oh
that
my
shit
God.
was so good.
His punk rock.
God damn. His punk rock.
That man makes some damn good beer. I couldn't believe it.
Good beer.
He poured us so fucking much of it. Would not stop.
I know.
Even when asked politely, not actually meaning that we didn't want him to keep pouring, but it's such good beer that I was tired the next morning because we were up until like 3 a.m, but not hungover, surprisingly. So
No.
I think that's
I should have been dead. I should have been dead with the amount of liquor I drank that night. I should have been dead. I didn't have a trace of hangover. It's still like witchcraft.
It was Wendy's.
It's
it was
utter
Wendy's
witchcraft.
Food too.
I should still be hungover.
And John was such a good host that Jordon brought him this amazing bottle of bourbon up from California.
Oh God.
And John, I think he regretted it a little bit because he wanted to spend some time with that bottle, but he brought it out and then shared it with us. So we gotta make sure we try and get him another one somehow. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
I'm on deck, ready to do it. All right, so holy shit, everybody. We'll get to our songs. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, it's gonna be like this in round 2 a lot because all the songs are the best songs, but now all the bestest songs are through. And fuck, every matchup, the Terrible Machine has done quite a job tonight in giving us quite a challenge. So our first round, and tonight we're going to go, I'll start off, and then Andy will pass the baton to you, and then over to Michelle, and then over to Matthew for this first round. And just a reminder, everybody, we're kind of, you probably know by now how this goes, but for those at home who don't remember, we're trying to mix it up a little bit for round 2. We're going to compare and contrast these songs instead of just going song by song by song. So we're going to take these first two, kind of compare and contrast them, talk about their lyrics a bit, the performance of them, our personal favorite parts of it, things that bug us, whatever, if such a thing could exist, which wouldn't be to the Brad if that were to come around. I'd have something to say. In second topic round, we'll go back up to the top and we'll talk about how representative this song is or these songs are of No Means No as a whole, what place it occupies in the oeuvre of No Means No, and a question I really love, which is whether we introduce these songs to a newbie of No Means No. So we're going to get started with our first set of luchadores. Before we do that, actually, I'm realizing, just because I'm so fucking out of practice and certainly out of practice having a guest, I don't want to dive right into the songs yet, man. Like we've done that a bazillion times. We've got Andy on the podcast, and Andy has some history with this band too. He's not just some fucking schmo from England come Florida. So Andy, tell us a little bit about your origin story with this band and what they mean to you and what's going on with you in this band No Means No.
Yeah. It's a good story. I count myself lucky, particularly having moved to the US in 2004 when the band were kind of slowing down a lot and their output was slowing down, their touring was slowing down. So I got to see them like maybe 20, 25 times over in Europe, starting in like 91. It was like, I saw them with Andy, Michelle. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that to you before.
Did you mention that? Jesus fucking Christ.
I may have mentioned it once in passing, but I certainly don't make a point of it. But they were the sad thing is I should have been able to see them on the wrong tour. So my background is like nowadays I'm this. I live in Florida. I come from the east coast of England, from Lincolnshire in England, middle of nowhere. But I was lucky to grow up with an absolutely ridiculous DIY punk scene that me and all my school friends created that became enviable. Like it was bands would write to us. I actually, a couple of years ago, one of the people involved in it posted they'd found the letter from Ian Mackay on the first Fugazi tour.
Shit.
Was like discussing whether he was going to come and play a room above a pub in rural Lincolnshire, England on the first Fugazi tour, because we'd heard so many things about what we were doing. So I'd started playing bass in like 87 as because my brother was playing guitar and my parents thought, let's not make it a competitive thing. If we buy him a guitar, they're going to be competitive. Let Andy have the bass. Let the young one have the bass, and the old one can have the guitar. So I started playing bass, and I'd really, really like. At that point, school meant nothing to me. I started playing in bands, and then like a year later, all I was into was punk music, and like we were listening to Descendants and all, and Minutemen and Firehose and Husker Du, everything. But I'd learned to play with, like, my uncle was a session musician in the swinging 60s. My uncle played with Hendrix. He played with Pink Floyd. Played the legendary tour where The Move, Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd all played together. And he was who taught me. So he taught me really good fundamental bass playing.
Wow.
So we'd all been playing in bands. We'd been messing around with stuff. But then every time anyone of my friends who were like Discord kids or Sub Pop kids, they came across a band that was like, oh, they actually sound like they practice. They would put it on a tape and hand it off to me. So in 1990, one of these was a copy of Wrong. And it was me and the drummer in my old band. It was,
what happened?
You guys need to listen to this. This is your kind of music. This is way beyond what we're listening to. And the funny thing is, the bands they handed me were No Means No, Victims Family, and Cardiacs. Who've all been like the center of everything that I've ever musically. And this is all in 1990.
And
so
it still is.
White Red Blues, Things I Hate to Admit, Wrong, and On Landing in the Sea by Cardiacs.
Jesus Christ.
So I just like literally, I literally just, and Cardiacs were the one that took me the longest to get into. And Victims Family were always a bit weirder. But No Means No, I literally, from that day, I just retreated to my bedroom in my parents' house and 8, 9, 10 hours a day just played along to Wrong on bass. Just playing, learning everything on it. And then I got a copy of Sex Mad. The first CD I ever bought was Sex Mad. Then I got The Day Everything Became Nothing. The Day Everything Became Isolated and Destroyed. And I just learned and learned and learned every No Means No song I could possibly learn on bass. And they just became an obsession. And it became, around that time, I got into Cardiacs at the same time. And they kind of became the yin and yang of my musical interest. That one was like they were both so out there, but one fed my hardcore punk love and one fed my intricate, weird music love that I'd got from electronic music.
Which one was which?
So I just got the chance to go see No Means No so many times, and I've chatted with Andy about it, and like I told him what my memory of my first No Means No show is, and there are videos of it out on YouTube, which is the Mean Fiddler songs. Someone somewhere has to have that whole video of playing in the Mean Fiddler in Harleston in London. I am convinced they played for 3.5 hours.
Whoa.
They did 4 encores, and when I ran it past Andy, his memory was, yeah, that's probably true. Like they just came back and back and back, and they played everything.
Fucking hell.
And the funny story is that they were so I knew one of the support bands, the band Fudge Tunnel from Nottingham. We had played with a bunch of times, and they were always put out there as the British No Means No, because they were a 3-piece that were very bass heavy. They were very much heavier. I mean, Alex Newport ended up doing stuff with Slayer and things, their guitarist, but they were 3-piece that were rhythm heavy, bass heavy. And they were supporting No Means No. So they actually played. Fudge Tunnel had a song that was written about a show we played with them back in our hometown, and they dedicated it to me and my band's drummer who were there.
How about that?
So cool. But I just remember, if I may indulge myself a little bit with this story, and Michelle knows this very, very well because we've chatted about it all the time, and Jason knows this very well. No Means No's deliberate avoidance of promotion and media drives me insane to the point I scream about it. You even saw the post on your Facebook page this week. Why didn't they tell the press Andy had left? And 2 years later, a review comes out that says Andy's playing guitar on it.
Right.
So we knew nothing about them other than, the bass player's really old. So me and Adam, bless his heart, who's sadly no longer with us, we were stood over by the side. We'd watched Fudge Tunnel play. They played this amazing set. They dedicated a song to me and Adam. And then we were watching the stage being set, and the drum kit is over on the side, which we'd heard about. And this old guy comes shambling on in slip-on shoes and sweatpants and a T-shirt. And me and Adam are like nudging each other going, hey, that's the bass player. Bet that's the bass player. Because this old grey-haired guy in sweatpants comes on.
The sweatpants.
And he just was like setting his bass rig up and playing like anyone would do.
God.
And then like they kind of like shamble around and set the stuff up. But all the time the PA is playing music, is playing the just playing regular music for it. And then these guys walk out, and it's obviously John, I didn't realise now, with his dark hair as he had at the time, and Andy, who we had no idea what Andy looked like. I'd literally only ever seen him wearing a cow's head. So I had no idea what his actual face looked like. And then the guy in the sweatpants and the slip-on shoes and the grey hair comes walking out and picks up his bass.
Oh my God.
And they start...
and he blows your fucking mind.
Well, this is the weird thing, is the PA is still playing background music, waiting for them to come on. And they're all stood on stage not knowing what to do.
Oh, no.
And the song that comes on next is Wipeout by the Safaris. So John starts playing along to it. I only realise now, thanks to YouTube, that like Infamous Scientists used to play it. There's some Infamous Scientists live shows that have them playing it. So John starts playing along to it, and then Rob starts playing, and no one is turning it down in the audience.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious!
And so John and Rob are playing Wipeout by the Safaris, the most No Means No version of it you can imagine. and every time there's the drum fill, John is just going apeshit playing fills to it. And then they turn the volume down on the PA, and Andy joins in, and Andy does Andy, and it just becomes this wave of noise comes out.
Oh my God.
And the denouement to this story that makes it so funny is they played this amazing cover of Wipeout. The joke between me and Adam, because we had these 3 albums we'd been learning, and the one song we were convinced you couldn't play live was Obsessed. It was like, Obsessed is like just so out there. How can you play this song?
Exactly.
They play Wipeout. They're laughing to themselves. Rob walks up to the microphone and says, "Hi, we're No Means No from Canada. This is Obsessed." And they kick into Obsessed. And me and Adam are just screaming in each other's faces. And like that was, to this day,
wild.
the greatest show I've ever seen. Was that
wild.
one No Means No show with Andy, where they played for
Fucking
3.5 hours. And I followed them, and I was blessed with living in the middle of the country, that when they came over, I could drive down to London, I could drive up to the northeast, the northwest, stay in the Midlands. So I would see them 3 or 4 times every tour. And then slowly, just as it went on, I got to kind of like meet them a few times and chat with them. And it turned out I knew a ton of their we had loads of mutual friends from my days playing in bands back in the late 80s, early 90s. And it's just been, they've just been my life. They've just been like one of my cornerstones that I judge music by ever since.
Honey, listen to you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Amen, brother. Jesus.
What a great fucking story, man. God, I wish that was on tape. Seeing them busted fucking Wipeout from the PA system. Fucking
maybe
absolutely
that dude's
epic.
got it. That guy.
Well, there's someone there's like 4 or 5 songs from that night are on there. And like,
release the tape.
This will come out with one of our early songs. There is a story around it. But like, there's a video of them playing "Oh Canada," because they literally had to play every song they knew. So they would just like two of the the encores were just cover versions. Like, I'm sure they did one that was just Ramones songs because they had nothing else to play.
How about that?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And unsurprising.
Jesus Christ. Well,
is that when they were doing the they did Joy Division covers and the fucking
They were just everything, and they just they were like, their main set must have been 2 and a bit hours.
Jesus,
and they just kept coming back on because no one wanted them to leave. And I remember that I got home at like 5 o'clock in the morning. It was like a 2.5 hour drive, and I left the venue at like 1:30. Had to take the tube all the way across London back to my car to get to the north of London. And got home like 5 o'clock in the morning.
And you're still wide awake, weren't you?
I had to go in do one of my exams the next morning.
Excellent. Well, what you didn't know, Andy, is that if you looked behind your left shoulder towards the back of the venue, I was fucking standing there, but it was the me from 30 years from now when they invented time travel, and I went back to watch that fucking show. So
me
heads
too.
up. Heads up.
Yeah.
I'm going to see that someday, or I already have.
God
damn it.
Shit.
All right. Well, on that very impressive note, now that you have absolutely laid out your bona fides, as it were, let's talk about 2 absolutely luchador-worthy fucking wrestler Titanic kaiju songs.
This fucking
Ooh, this sucks. It sucks. All right. So we are going to pit now, which is off of 0 + 2 = 1 from 1991. And it, for those keeping track, 1 over The Future is the Past from episode 25. And it is going up against Beauty and the Beast off of Small Parts 1987. And it won over Sitting on Top of the World, episode 5. So before we start talking about these 2 bad boys together, let's hear a little mashup of these monster mashes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I had the courage, I'd pour into your jar all the things that I have heard you whisper in the dark. And when that jar was heavy with your honeyed confidence, I'd put it to my lips and drink its meaning and its sense. Its meaning and its sense. It has no end, so let's pretend it's now. Let's get started now. Let's get started now. eyes on beauty's parts, those burning eyes on beauty's parts. Those burning eyes, so dark and hot, dark and hot, dark and hot, dark and hot. Behold the
All right. So I go first now. I want to start by saying, looking at what they won against, I think both of these songs could have won against a bunch of songs. Like these are top shelf, but they both got pretty easy pulls. I have to say,
Yeah,
like
they certainly did. That was heavyweight
so,
versus bantamweight kind of thing.
That's right. Made it easy for us.
Future's
But
the
doesn't mean
whatever weight class that was in.
Come on, that's cool.
No, I mean, it's great. It's great. It was fun to talk about. It was cool to dive into a song most people don't even fucking know exists. But they're both kaiju anyway. They could have made life harder for a couple other songs, but they decided to. They knew they were getting into the next round, so they decided to take it easy on us. Unlike one of the ones from the next round, which we won't talk about yet. So I'm going to compare and contrast these songs. I mean, very different. It's all Andy era. As a matter of fact, this entire episode is going to be all Andy era, which is very interesting, frankly. But off of two very different albums. I mean, first of all, now I've really been thinking a lot about this song this time around. What an amazing opener it is, and what a baller move to open with this after it's catching up on Wrong. Two absolutely different ways to open up an album that immediately, if you had just gotten into No Means No from Wrong and you pick up 0+2 right as their next release, it'd be like, wait, I mean, I know this is how it happened for me. I started on Wrong, and then 0+2 is the first one I got to pick up as it came out, and I was just fucking blown away because of how unique it was, how different it was, and of course just how fucking amazing it is. And also, Andy's kind of pyrotechnic on it. The drumming is absolutely layered, nuanced, and amazing. And the bass playing is simple as fuck. This is probably the easiest No Means No bass line to learn. Boom, 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 boom. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, he nails it, but it's not like it's catching up or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of wild for a band that's so bass heavy to start off with a song that really is not highlighting the bass in any significant way. Now is one of my favorite No Means No songs. I don't know where it sits in my pantheon. We've tried before, like, sometimes it's number 3. That's all bullshit. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Other than the one I know is number 1 for me. But I do think this. I mean, I think in a lot of ways this album pits Robbie at the top of his lyrics game in many ways, and this song in particular is it's astounding. It's the best song about the subjective experience and mystery of time as it relates to human consciousness that you could ever wish to have. I never tire of listening to this song, and I'm someone who's obsessed with time. I always have been, from a philosophical sense, from just being stoned in your dorm room sort of sense, and from a very deep thinking sort of, like, I have spent a lot of time thinking about it. And this song really nails how absolutely uncanny our human experience of time is. The lines where he talks about, there could be no mystery of what is yet to come, and how the past is something that, I'll just pull up the goddamn lyrics, so instead of being an idiot about it, nothing could be plainer than the things that have been done, and there could be no mystery of what is yet to come, right? We as humans are cursed to live always having this constructed past and imagining the future, whereas the only thing we're actually experiencing, this actual moment, is completely ephemeral, and there's absolutely no way to inhabit it. There's absolutely no way to actually understand it, yet it's all we have. And if that's not one of the most outstanding conundrums of being a human being, I don't know what is. And he nails it, talking about how it's now that howls at nothing. It's now that runs and hides. It's now that winds its spineless coils and slithers out of sight. That is so fucking spot on. What a beautiful way to talk about the absolute impossibility of understanding the moment, and how, as humans, I think the first stanza is so gorgeous about how we take in all of these things that people say to us in the moment, and then we build the story out of them. We build this huge, we build this kind of a fortress inside these poems, this sort of ephemera inside of us about what that means. And here's this person kind of wistfully talking about how they want to just gather up everything that's been said by this person and then drink it all at once, which is kind of what we do, right? We rarely actually experience what someone's saying to us in the moment. We often bank it away for later. And that's kind of how we experience life. We experience the preponderance of what's gone before us and not what's actually happening. And this is such a bittersweet sort of ode to that experience of being a human being. It's fucking poetry of the highest order. And I love I think little joke in this song about, it has no end, so let's pretend it's now. And then they give you that false ending, making you think, oh, the song's over. And then it's not, because it has no end. And so they kick it into gear again. And now the song just keeps fucking playing. And it strikes me as one of the, it's a very no means no-y thing to do. You include the joke in the structure of the song, or not joke, but the meaning of the song into the structure of the song. It's fucking great. And Andy's guitar in this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. The drumming is unbelievable. I love how Andy starts us off with the singing, and then Rob comes in. It's such a great and the harmony between them is fucking gorgeous. The performance in this is just vocally on Andy's and Rob's part is phenomenal. It never ever ever fails to get me going.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's like this rockabilly fucking masterpiece. And here it is up against Beauty and the Beast, which could not be more different. I don't know how it's just like many of the things on Small Parts. You can't categorize Beauty and the Beast. This song is it's its own fucking thing. And it is also a absolutely brilliant song that also deals with perception, much like Now does, of the perception of time. You've got Beauty and the Beast of the perception of beauty and how it impacts our sort of primal id, right? Like it brings up this feeling of being the beast, this kind of primal dark sexuality that comes up in response to the images that we see. And it puts it right at the eye. That hit me this time about how the eye is that window of perception. It's the symbol, but also the physical place where external reality meets internal reality. So it's where that sense of exterior beauty meets that interior impulse of lust and carnality. And it all happens in the eye. And the way that they play with lyrics, where beauty lies, and then behold the eyes of the beast. They never say beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but they give you that old truism by mixing up the two truisms together and delivering it up in different ways. It's just fucking gorgeous.
Clever.
And it's clever. But more than clever too, right? Like it's not just clever for clever's sake. It's just fucking these guys, man. These fucking guys. And I do appreciate how they this is not a song about objectifying women. This is a song about the very nature of the fact that things are objectified because of how we perceive, because of how we're built, because of how the world is structured. This is what I love about this band. They go deeper than just, don't objectify women. They're like, no, our experience is such that the nature of reality and our being and existence in it is that when you perceive something, you're going to objectify it because of the very nature of how the exterior world meets the interior world, at least on a certain sense. And they do it while fucking totally goofing off and having Andy beauty walks and beauty talk, like giving that fucking
totally eyes of the beast.
That's probably one of my favorite parts of the song, because they flip from that goofy ass brilliant part to so dark and hot dark, and it's just this turnaround that is fucking just gets in my guts. And I've always liked this song, but like many No Means No songs, I don't know that I appreciated it enough or appreciated as much as I should have. Now I absolutely fucking adore this song. You'd asked me 10 years ago, what would you think is better, Now or Beauty and the Beast? Now, 100%. No question. What are you talking about? What the fuck? Now, when I'm sitting here listening to it, I'm like, I don't know, man. These songs are fucking great. And the production on Beauty and the Beast, people, I've seen some people, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Chuck, and I just wanted to go like, what the fuck are you talking about, Chuck? But, he's my whipping boy
Fuck,
here,
Chuck.
was like, hey,
Fuck.
it'd be a perfect album if you remove some of those 80s sound effects. I don't know what he's talking about, but in this song, the layered weird effects they do where they like Andy's voice goes up into that super high bit squeal and they've got the in the background and shit. It's just that layeredness adds in so much character and so much flavor and texture that I would not want to lose fucking any of it. And this is a really good example of that and how it serves the song. I don't think it overshadows it. It doesn't overtake it. It all serves what they're trying to do with it, both musically and lyrically. And musically on this, I mean, Beauty and the Beast is just fucking incredible. Those dueling the descending and ascending archipelagos. Yeah, it's fucking. They're not archipelagos. Sorry,
they're chromatic scales.
You know what I'm saying? The music nerd. When the one goes down and the other goes up,
and the one goes up.
Arpeggio. That's arpeggio. There's something that's a
arpeggio.
That's what I said. Arpeggio. Fuck you.
No, you said archipelago or
no, I didn't.
Whatever
Fuck you.
Florida is. All right, fuck you.
It's an absolutely musically brilliant song. It's a lyrically brilliant song, and it's going up another. I mean, actually, I think the music. No, I don't know, man. Fucking, I don't know. I know we're not voting now, but Jesus Christ, these both are masterpieces. They're both just fucking masterpieces. So anyway, I'll stop there because I'm starting to get into my second part of the topic, and we're gonna let somebody who've not heard before yet on this song opine about it a little bit, or these songs. So, Andy, what do you think of these two beasts?
Well, I'm going to link arms with Strangey here. It's an ascending scale versus a descending scale.
Yeah.
And they both end up in the same places.
Yeah.
So, but I won't get on to Beauty and the Beast, but I'm also going to use the word intervals a lot on Beauty and the Beast in the intro because there are some really weird intervals going on there.
Oh, baby.
Oh yeah, me and Strangey, we speak the same language here.
Go off.
Now is an interesting one. It's that I kind of my story of how I got into how I started seeing the band live and everything. Now is a big part of that because that was the only show I ever saw of them where I hadn't heard the new songs they were playing.
Oh.
And again, all the way back to their we don't bother publicizing what we're doing, even back on AT. So when I went to see them play, they were touring 0+2, but all I'd heard was Wrong, Small Parts, Sex Mad. Hadn't even heard Mama.
Yeah,
the only time I'd heard Mama was the Live in Warsaw bootleg that I'd bought on cassette from Selector Disc in Nottingham.
Oh, man.
I'd had that and it had no sex on it. Because even Live and Cuddly was out and didn't have any of the Mama songs on.
Yeah, no.
They were all those three albums.
Oh, this is fascinating. Listen to this.
So when I saw them play that show in London, everything from 0+2 was brand new. Like you had no idea what it was. And Now was like just such a standout track because it stopped everything. And just that intro of Andy playing on his own and just playing that cowboy chord A and just like with his volume turned down to turn the distortion down because the only way Andy gets distortion on his amp is to have that thing on full. It was like unreal the way they played it, and then having the stop in the middle of it. And my story is literally, I got home at 5 o'clock in the morning. I slept through to like noon. Went to school, did my exams, and I literally that day went to the guitar store in my hometown and tried to buy a Telecaster because that's what Andy had been playing. And I was like, I took all my guitars in to trade in to buy a Telecaster because I wanted to play a Telecaster because that sound he had that night was so absolutely amazing.
Cool.
But so as I told you before in the prep for this, I've made notes and I'm looking at my notes on the side of my screen here. This can only be an opening track on an album.
Absolutely.
I've got a note here that every album has an amazing opening track. Like the song on that album that opens is the one that should open. But every other album, that opener could be moved later in the set when they played live. But Now could only ever sit as the opening track. It just doesn't work in the middle of a set the way it does
Right.
the way the other ones do. Because like
Exactly.
when you take
Yep.
The Day Everything Becomes Nothing, It's Catching Up, Sex Mad, as we're going to talk about, they could all move later in the set and fit, but now doesn't work absolutely anywhere else with that. But the other statement it made to me, like having listened to the previous 3 Andy era albums, is when I find I bought the CD at the show, but I didn't have a CD player in my car at that point. I had a cassette player.
Oh,
So that's why I'd like all their early stuff I'd bought on cassette, so I could listen to it on my drive home from the store. So I had to wait till the next day to listen to it on CD. And my note I've made for this is the product, this album, but this song in particular is the product of how hard they toured wrong. They had just gone next level in terms of professionalism, in terms of understanding composition, understanding recording. This is like just so far advanced from what wrong was that they've thought about how many guitar tracks, they've thought about the composition of the song, they've thought about where the backing vocals go, they thought about how the harmonies work. Absolutely everything on this song is like a level of professionalism versus like they were a punk band that were rocking out and they were trying to recreate what they did live on all their earlier albums. And 0+2 is the one where it's like, actually, you make an album differently to you create a song to play live.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that what broke Andy? Because he was all about the live show, and he was in that band when they were recreating their live shows on record. But when they went to that, actually, we're now a studio band.
Oh, right.
I mean, like think like Beatles. The Beatles had their live era and their recording era. This is that threshold. This is 0+2 is No Means No Sgt. Pepper.
Oh.
Because it's where they suddenly start thinking about what can we create in the studio and layer and compose and add things in a way that like we can't necessarily do this live, but we can do it in a studio.
Like double tracking the drums in Joyful Reunion.
It's like exactly like Joyful Reunion is such a good example of that. But also the sequencing is they're playing with different textures and they're playing with different feels that don't make sense if you're just writing songs to play live. You wouldn't write Ghosts,
right?
You know, you wouldn't write some of these songs, and I will get into this a little bit more on 0+2, but their head is in a different place when they record this album, and it's interesting that that's the point this version of the band breaks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting point.
And the funny thing is like the other note I've got is this is probably their most basic song.
Yeah, it is.
It's like it's just a shuffle beat and a clunky bass line, and Andy is just playing. I mean, it can only be Andy playing it because it's just his. He has a thing if you really listen deep, and it's funny. It's fun that I'm going against Jordon because Jordon is the lyrics guy, and I'm going to be the technique and guitar and sound guy in this. Just from my background in bands of being a composer, but who always is interested in texture of songs. But it's such a simple song. It's interesting you talk about Andy's guitar. I would love to know, and then maybe this is for a future Andy's corrections, who played the guitar solo on this? Because I know Rob played a lot of guitar solos on 0+2. Because I've had a discussion. I threw something at Andy once in a private message, in a DM, about the fact that I doubt this is in Jason's book, so I feel safe saying it, that the guitar solo in Every Day I Start to Ooze is the riff and the main guitar line from Be Stiff by Devo.
Oh
wow.
If you can play either of those two, you can play the other one.
How about that?
I threw it to Andy of like, were you listening to Devo when you did this? And his response was, I have no idea because it was Rob that played solo on that.
How about that?
So this like it's that kind of discordant Andy guitar solo, but it's not quite as smooth as Andy would play. Andy plays them more noisy. Andy has loads of drone strings. He has loads of like double stops. Yeah. Whereas this is more jagged. So I wonder if it was Rob playing guitar, like playing solo on this.
Huh.
But my point with that is, if this didn't have such a discordant guitar solo, this would be the crossover song to end all crossover songs for them.
100%. 100%.
This could have totally been a commercial hit.
Oh, big time.
It's a totally commercial song.
I have evidence of that I'll talk about next. But yeah, 100%.
Really?
Oh,
well, I've got a point as well. I will leave it to the would you play people this song?
Yeah,
I think it will come up as well there.
Yeah, exactly.
But like without that discordant guitar solo, this could have been done not just by any punk. It probably wouldn't have been done by a punk band. It would have been done by like a regular alternative band.
Yeah.
Like this could have been an alt country song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This could have been Uncle Tupelo played it.
Right.
I don't even know who that is, but that's funny. Uncle Tupelo?
You need to listen to Uncle Tupelo. If No Means No is people who are into jazz playing punk, Uncle Tupelo are people who are into old country playing punk.
Sweet.
Whoa, I got some homework.
There you go.
So
they're my notes on now. Beauty and the Beast. My initial note was this is them at their funkiest, but then I realized I did something to really take this seriously. What we're doing tonight, I actually listened to the songs in headphones, which is the way I never do it. I listen to them in my car. I listen to them generally. 99% of it is I'm playing along to them on my digital rig for my guitars and everything. I listen to them on my headphones to really get deep into it. And I wanted to say this is No Means No at their funkiest. It's actually them at their dubbiest.
Oh.
This is dub.
There is
Matthew? There is so much echo and delay on the vocals, on the drums. There is delay everywhere on this song in a way that is totally out of dub. And then I know you like your off mic comments and weirdness in the background. This has more than probably every other No Means No song combined.
Oh, it's wild.
There is so much talking, weirdness, comments. Mm-hmm. And I know you love a good what in a No Means No song. You like a what when it introduces Oh No Bruno, even though you all detest that song.
We don't detest it. Stop it.
I don't know.
God damn it.
I don't detest it at all.
He's kidding, everybody. He's kidding. Keep your comments to yourself.
I am convinced that this podcast, the day you have to finish is when we all walk away as listeners because you put Oh No Bruno up against The Future is a Past, and you make an argument that like, well, it's the only time they played ukulele on an arena song. It's got to go through. Like, it's the Irish Western Canadian vaudeville tradition. You're going to stick that one through.
That's got to happen now. Sorry,
there is no Means No song you will not put against Oh No Bruno and vote against Oh No Bruno.
False.
There's one.
I love that song.
There's one.
There's at least one.
There's at least one. Calumny.
It's a great song.
But again, to your point, Jordan, like this is even though it's a weird song, the sound of it and Andy's guitar. I've got here Andy hair metal guitar god down as one of my notes.
Yeah,
because this has that chorusy sound as well as all the delay. It's got a load of chorus on it, and when Andy plays his solo stabs in there, they're straight out of like hair metal, straight out of commercial music. There's nothing punk or alternative, and nothing No Means No about those solos he plays in this. There's little riffs he's playing and the little bits he's playing here and there. And this is also, to get to the intervals thing I preambled about, Andy is the root of this song. Andy's playing all the root notes. Mm-hmm. Rob is messing around with weird intervals and playing like thirds and fifths and sevenths. When you listen to
baby, you're speaking my language, baby.
But listen to it on headphones. On the record, there's a couple of intervals he hits don't sound right. Like it sounds like he's gone to like seconds.
No.
He's gone to like flattened thirds and weird stuff like that. There's a couple when you listen to it that then when you listen to them like the live videos on YouTube, he's nailed them, and he goes from thirds to fifths to sevenths to make it sound normal.
Yeah, seventh chord.
But there's some weird intervals he plays on the record that just, to my ears, just don't get right. That he didn't get.
Are you saying they made a mistake? Because that's not
No.
possible.
So
I'm just kidding.
This will come on in the next song we talk about. I think they committed songs to record slightly early, quite often during this era.
Oh yeah, Rob's talked about that with us, right?
They had put stuff. There's stuff where you listen to live recordings from a couple of years later. The songs are so better.
Yeah.
And they've figured out cooler bits, and they've figured out more interesting bits, and they've figured out where they want to hit. And this is one of them. I think Rob figured out what sounded good after they played it live a few times, and I think the record is an experiment with that. I think he just, again, listen to it with headphones, and you'll hear him hit some notes that don't quite go with the route that Andy is playing.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, and my last comments I've got are about John, because this is
let's hear it.
So the debate always, and the constant no means no forum debate since the beginning of time is John the best punk drummer? Well, I think he has competence.
Yeah,
I think he has.
Yes.
I would say he's definitely in the conversation, because I mean Bill Stevenson's not that bad. You know, he's a pretty good drummer himself. In terms of general drumming, there are some absolutely amazing drummers out there who are doing some cool stuff, who have different styles to do amazing things. But I want to end the conversation right now that John Wright is the greatest hi-hat player drumming has ever seen.
What? More than Stuart Copeland, are you saying to me?
John Wright is the greatest player of hi-hats of any band I have ever heard. Of any music ever.
God.
His hi-hat playing,
I like my
the
hi-hat.
way he uses them, and the way, and like, even when you used to see him live, he has such big hi-hats he plays that he can open them and use them as crash cymbals. And like listen to like metronome. Metronome is a
oh Jesus!
It's a class in how to play your hi-hat, and how changing how you play your hi-hat changes the entire song. So I will talk a little bit about them when we get to another song. So I've made friends. So weirdly, my career is in museums, and I run museums, and I've been a museum curator, and now I'm a museum director. And that put me in the world of the Smithsonian Jazz Masterworks Orchestra, who are members of the Duke Ellington Orchestra. Their drummer has played with Frank Zappa. They are like the highest end jazz musicians you can possibly play.
Right.
Whenever I've played them No Means No, which I have multiple times.
Oh, good boy.
All their drummer talks about is how is he playing those hi-hats.
Oh, shit.
Like that's all he picks up is how is he playing those hi-hats. Like John's, John, you could put a song and just have John playing hi-hats, and
it would be the best song ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must be missing something, because I always associate John with the floor toms.
No.
Just as tom work.
I am so coming back to that.
In
a future song, yeah.
No, it's amazing.
But the weird thing here is, again, like so yeah. I mean, like you really, if you just isolate John's hi-hats, they are so next level, and they are driving all the music of No Means No. Of what? Because Rob is occupying the place where the kick drum would be.
Right. Yes.
And every now and again, Andy will take over from that, and Andy's chords will replicate the kick drum. And Rob will go off playing up the dusty end of the neck on all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
But one of them is always holding down where the kick drum should be.
Right.
My God.
All of John's work is on the toms and the hi-hat.
Yeah, the toms, yeah.
And
that's what I hear when I hear.
My other point with this was like listening to it on headphones, listening to it on my earbuds. I picked up a drum line like in the last third of the song, or the last quarter of the song, that sounds like. So you've had this mentioned, and this will be a part of what I've written for Jason's book. there needs to be a museum opened to John Wright's Ragtime. Like John Wright's Ragtime. Like if you've seen that stuff, people posting pictures.
We
like,
saw it. We saw the ragtime.
And did you want to clean it? Because
I
I want to clean
I
it.
touched
I
it.
don't. I just want.
No,
I want to see it and clean it.
No, it's really dirty. And in fact, didn't he
Really,
say he was
really
got
dirty.
the rims replaced and it was like disintegrated from all of his sweat?
It's
Didn't
all
you say
flavor.
that, Jordan?
It's all
Again.
flavor. It's all flavor. You can't ever dust it.
I can't do
You
it.
can't
Oh my
clean
God,
off any
no,
of it.
can't.
no,
I
no,
can't.
don't. Still got the
all
old
my
tiger
guitars
on
are so clean and like
No.
clean
Oh,
them
what
out
is
all the
wrong?
time.
No.
You would
And
have
I've got
fucking
my,
died seeing how dirty
My
his
fast
whole
fret
space was. It was
here,
gorgeous.
clean my
No,
strings. And my
no,
neck.
fuck you.
Nope.
No, we're talking
But
dirt here.
if No Means No had one object in the guy from NoFX's Punk Museum in Vegas, it should be John Wright's Ragtime.
Oh,
Because
totally.
it is like unique in punk music.
He had like 3 of them there. It sounds like he had 8.
He had one he always played.
Well,
He had
I don't know
one
what
that was
the
always
fuck,
on
but
the
he
end.
didn't have a lot.
Because it was a totally different colour to the rest of his kit.
Oh my God.
And the colour of his kit was dirt. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
I know it was.
Grime. But he had that one ragtime that he always played. But when you listen, so I was listening to this and I was trying to work out the timing of it, is when you get into the bit where Rob is playing the weird high bends. And it's kind of gone into that like tribal beat.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
But when you listen around that, there is like, so I remember it being called the Burundi beat. It was like what
Oh,
Adam and the Ants and
Yeah,
Bow
yeah,
Wow
yeah.
Wow and Malcolm McLaren was doing. In the last third of that song, there is I'm convinced there is a track that is just John on a second drum beat playing just his ragtime or ragtimes, a set of ragtimes.
Oh, you mean layered?
Yeah, it's like layered on top when you listen to it. And what I was trying to figure out yesterday is it just the way the drums are panned, and he's just playing across his toms, and it's panning, but it really, really sounds to me like that's a song where they added John just going crazy on a ragtime like tribal beat to like layer that last part of the song.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, wow. I'd like to know the answer to that.
You need to go back to his pub.
I need to go back to his drum set because
That's right.
I got all verklempt when I saw it and I touched it.
I'm here in my garage.
I touched it.
Yeah, I did too. I have a sort of cleaner part for my, the audio equipment and computer stuff, and I have, dust control, and I have kind of a wood shop over there. John's shed, having now been in where he records that album, where he recorded that album, where his drums are, where all his music equipment are. I'm pretty sure the outhouse is cleaner than that place. It is truly,
Come on.
truly.
Oh, come
No,
on.
For any Cardiacs fans out there, it's definitely a rotten shed.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
But I remember that night, the nights we were in Brooklyn and New York, where we were
Yes,
helping
Jordan,
with load
you
in
were
and load
there.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Jordan, you were there.
But me and you,
Yeah.
Strangey, we got to help him with load in and load out and like
I
set
don't
up and
remember
everything.
that.
Well, you were in the sound booth. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Blair.
But I was on stage helping them like set the gear up and like clean it all out. And like if I'd known what hand sanitizer was back then, I would have.
Oh, come on. Don't you dare. You lick those fingers and you
I did
eat
not.
it.
It was.
worked.
I was looking at it.
No.
thinking-
It does.
I was from the whole school of like the coolest, cleanest gear.
No,
and
stop
keep
it.
everything meticulous. And then I looked at their gear, and it was like, I'm not sure I want to touch any of this.
Oh,
Blood,
are
sweat,
you
and tears, man.
Andy,
It's all
come on,
it's
man.
all
Save
season.
some
That
and
is so
sprinkle it
wrong.
on. That's what John sprinkles on top of his, top down fermentation in his carboy. Like, he just gets a little
right.
bit of drum mung
That's
and
what the
just
smoking
sprinkles
tastes
that
like.
on top of the
I
beer.
guarantee if he scraped his toms, there would be yeast in there. He could
Oh,
create
God,
alcohol.
if it's such a good
No,
beer.
definitely.
That's what punk rock beer is. It's
Exactly.
The secret sauce. That's why we
Do
didn't
not
need a
touch
hangover.
John
hair.
Wright's yeast is
That's
what he puts in his beer.
Oh boy, there's the episode title right there. Lock it in. John Wright's yeast.
John Wright's
We
yeast.
found it.
Yeah,
We
man,
found it.
he's writing it
Thank
down.
you.
Jesus
got it.
Christ.
All right. All right, Andy. You
no,
got
okay. I can't
anything
go.
more before we pass on to Strangey?
Jesus Christ.
All right.
The defense rests.
The defense rests. All All right,
John's
Strangey. Sorry, you
used-
gotta.
oh.
I'm sorry that we brought someone on the podcast who's stealing all your milkshake this time. What do you got? Where's
Is it my
Gregson?
turn?
It's your turn.
I can't. Gregson is. I'm sorry he hissed at you. Jordan came over and scared the
Yeah,
cat.
fucking
and
little
he
cat
hissed.
just hissed me.
He's like,
God
"Who
damn
the
it.
hell are you?" Jesus
I
Christ!
love him anyway.
All right. So, what do I start with now, or Beauty and the Beast?
Whatever. Just
All
All right,
Hear
I'm going
them.
to start with now. Now, you can't get any better than this song, really. The way this is crafted and how they slowly bring up the excitement. It starts out with an exceptional guitar part, and Andy starts the storytelling. The "it has no end, so let's pretend it's now" has an uh-oh kind of feeling. Like that's a turn of feeling in the song where it's like, hey, this isn't happy-go-lucky here. Whoa, something's kind of weird here. It has a kind of feeling where you can feel an inevitable explosion coming, and man, it does. As I've mentioned before, I love the emphasis on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this song during the chorus. How he just hits the first two beats of the measure on that. The song gallops. It's just a galloping song. The shared vocals between Rob and Andy are a great game of catch, and we're all here for it. The song makes you feel like $1 million. I love the harmonies in this song. It just
So
keeps
good.
building and building and building like a balloon that's just getting bigger. And by the end, you're singing along with it. The harmonies are so exciting.
Absolutely.
And they're saying the word now, and that's like a positive thing. Like it's just a wonderful, glorious song, and it's a true gem. So, Beauty and the Beast, let the Funk Fest begin. It's catchy, cool, and intriguing as hell. Just like now, this song totally grabs you instantly, slaps you in the face, and makes you sit up and straighten up in your chair. My favorite parts are the slight, as you were talking about, Jordan, the sound effects on the vocals, especially the high pitched one on the word beautiful. I don't know whose vocal track that they did that to. I don't know if it was Andy's
Sounds
or
like
John's, but
Andy's,
it's somebody's. They just that high pitched one is just outrageous. This is a great use of a catchy repeating riff that Rob talked about when he was speaking with us, where it's impossible to tire of hearing it. Bonus cheese in this is the bass solo. I wrote bass solo in quotes while Andy kind of raps. That it's so cheesy. That while Andy kind of raps a bit, the snarly guitar and the small solos he does are extraordinarily filled with snot. The treat of all this is John and the iconic storm he's starting, and it's stupefying to listen to. Both of these songs pitted against each other is blasphemy.
Fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough.
That's what
Nicely
I'm saying,
done.
and I said it.
Good
Yep.
job, Strangest. Now, Matthew,
Thank
what you
you.
got for us?
Well, a lot of what I was going to say has certainly been said. Sort of
Sorry.
ticking little boxes. No, it's cool. This is it is a very songy song. It is it's the perfect like beginning. It's the first song anyone would have heard after Wrong, so it's interesting in that it is just so different. It is yo ho ho positive. We're a positive band. It's the closest thing to a radio hit I think that they might have ever recorded. It is relatively simple, relatively repetitive, but they've just got some weird aspects to it, like the way they restart it and the way that the guitar, as you were saying, Andy, is like couldn't be anyone else. There are things that would have prevented it from being sort of a major label hit on Much Music or whatever. But certainly it's catchy, it's singing, it's got great lyrics. The content of the lyrics, of course, belie the simplicity and the sort of honky tonk aspect of the music. I love both of the. I mean, the songwriting is great.
Man,
they're certainly cooperating and kind of handing off things to each other. I like that both Andy and Rob sing on it. But yeah, the bass is definitely not super important. But I mean, that's one of the things about No Means No is that they don't seem to have the kind of ego where everybody has their
Exactly.
part. Sometimes if they need to fade
Yes.
into the background, they fade into the background.
Mhm.
In some
That's a
cases,
musician right
almost
there.
completely, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's certainly a great Andy song. The drumming is great as ever. Though it's just the same thing. It's not going to knock anyone's socks off. I mean, it's great, but it's playable. You can imagine another band covering it with some success. Beauty and the Beast is very different, but I like Jordon was saying, I think it's one of those songs that kind of got lost among other songs in terms of just where it was in the song order. I mean, I did most of my listening to the album on the compilation CD with the EP and the LP combined. So it's right before Brother Rat. So Brother Rat is so
Exactly.
iconic that it kind of almost
Yeah.
overshadows. Sort of waiting for that and not paying as much attention as I might have to Beauty and the Beast. I really like how it melds like an older and newer sounds. It's got sort of all of aspects of each of the albums up to it. Not that it's pretty early in their careers, but I mean it's got the disco feel of Mama. It's got the rock epic aspect of so much of what goes on Sex Mad, and then the sort of almost ritualistic kind of ceremonial aspect that is in certainly Small Parts, and then it's just a repeating theme, and all these things come back in No Means No, but I think this song really hybridizes everything they'd been doing to that point. I really like the bossa nova part. Yeah. Andy, you were saying it was is
He's
dub,
got
and yeah,
those sticks too.
I think you're right. In that, I was trying to figure out what it was about it. I'm not super well versed in music or musical terminology, but I almost said like it's almost a Latin flair. Like some of the rhythms are certainly
He's
from
using those sticks,
Latin or
those
Caribbean.
two Latin sticks.
Yeah, that
He's
is
got
actually
like rhythm sticks, but
that's
Yeah.
actually
there's a ton of delay on them. There's like echo on them,
Yeah.
so they go for like 7 or 8 repeats that fade out as he does it.
and that is
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
John Card. I never knew this before, of Personality Crisis, DOA, Subhumans, and SNFU. So he played percussion on that song,
wow.
and only that song.
No shit.
So he was
Wow,
playing those
amazing.
probably, and when you say percussion, it's probably those sticks, those wooden,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
wooden
can't,
rhythm
I
sticks
can't
or
remember
whatever
what they're called. They're like 6 inches each, and they give you that timbre that you have.
Yeah.
Fucking nice.
This song is totally chock full of so much stuff that I love. I mean, Andrew with there's so much silly, funny stuff. The exclamations, weird sounds, pitch bending the voices and everything like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Andy's silly country accent, which is kind of funny. Like both of these, like he's sort of a country southern accent in Beauty and the Beast, and then he's got in Now definitely a country kind of honky tonk twang to it.
Yeah, good point.
I think that this song, maybe I can't think of another example. This one seems to be Andy and John, and Rob isn't in it all that much. I mean, like he doesn't really stand
Except for the
out.
singing.
Except for the singing. But again, like, maybe they know when to kind of stand back, and this is what they do.
Yeah.
And I love that part that you guys are talking about where, the crescendo, decrescendo, whatever, the carpaccio,
Oh my God.
the bass and guitar. So many parts to keep track of.
Contrapuntal. It's
It's
amazing.
and as I say, it's a great melding of eras. The lyrics are great for the music and the subject, I think.
Yes.
And I do really appreciate, although listening to it in isolation is a little bit different, you want to anticipate Brother Rat. I do like that it's so fast and complex, and it leads right into Brother Rat, which is so
Oh my God.
like more stripped down than pretty much anything.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
The
Can I
drumming,
throw a hand grenade into your conversation with this?
yeah.
I've got a British hand grenade to throw into your conversation,
Alrighty.
Whoa.
and there's a
See?
filter to think about everything through with No Means No.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Did Andy join No Means No, or did Rob join Infamous Scientist?
I think it depends on the song.
Oh.
Depends on the song. Yeah, right. It's like switching the greater than or less than
that's
sign
neat.
from one side to the
just
other.
what you said, Matthew, there of like, well, this is an Andy and John song. Your interview with Rob was really interesting in terms of like the dynamic, the family dynamic in terms of the band dynamic.
Yeah.
And like,
Yep.
no matter what happened with that band, John was always Rob's little brother. But
Yep.
did John and Andy relate to each other more because they were contemporaries and peers and they'd been in a band? And I've got this like across all 4 songs we're talking about today. Is I was watching some stuff of them live and I was listening to the songs. There are times it feels like Rob joined Infamous Scientist.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Totally.
Question.
Well, if you think about it, I'd never really thought of it before. I mean, you had John and Andy and Infamous Scientists, and then Rob and John just doing just the brothers, No Means
Best
No.
friend.
And then you had John and Tom later on doing Showbiz Giants.
Showbiz Giants.
Yeah, right.
And Andy was involved in that as well. And so I'm sure that there was some Andy Tom stuff happening. And then there was no just Andy and Rob.
But
Except
but
in
at
particular
this period,
songs,
if this
I guess.
period in the band,
Yeah.
can you identify up to the end of 0 + 2 = 1 a song that was so past? If you cut Mama out and the early stuff, is there a song you can identify in their first 4 albums that is John and Rob? They are either Andy and John, or they are Rob.
Here's what I would say on that, and this is a song that's not on this, and again, I don't want to derail. We'll go back into your thing, Matthew, here in a minute, but there are songs that Andy pushes off to the side and dismisses on 0 + 2 = 1 that make me think they really are Rob and John. Like Mary, for instance. Andy has no patience for it. He could give 2 shits about that song. And so that to me is a song that's like, that's Rob, and then John underneath it coming in to support it. That's not an Andy song. Andy was doing support and he did a fucking amazing job, but it's not an Andy song. He could give 2 I don't know, saying he could give 2 shits about it is a little strong, but
No,
he doesn't love it.
He
doesn't love it. And I think there's other songs on that
credits.
album too that are the same. So that's an interesting dynamic to think about.
But you could pull those songs out and replace them with the ones that Andy pushed out as 0 + 2 = 1.5.
1.5. Yeah.
And the ones that then pushed out later on. If you took the John and Rob songs that probably should have gone on to Mr. Happy from 0 + 2 and pulled back all the ones that worked their way out into the rest of their catalogue.
Yeah.
You have 2 different you have a really interesting change of band.
That's totally interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Matthew,
Not
we've
just
totally
Strangey.
We've derailed you. Let's try to get you back on the rails. I think
I was just wrapping up. It's all
you're wrapping
it's
up
all
anyway,
good.
but yeah.
Pretty
Good.
much wrapping up. Beauty and the Beast is not as raw as a lot of the stuff on Sex Mad, and not as, I don't want to say twee. That's not the right word, but there's a lot of Mama. Sometimes it's cute.
They're kids.
It's not a Belle and Sebastian song they've written.
No, it's tidy somehow. Tidier. So yeah, anyway, I guess that's probably what I've got to say about those until we talk about the next little bit.
Round 2. All right.
Round 2.
Well, let's dive into that. And I'll be kind of succinct. We do not have to censor ourselves, but holy shit, we're already hour 11 minutes.
I
and
know. We're still in round 2 tonight.
We're only still in round 1 of round 1. So the first thing that we talk about in the second round of talking about these 2 songs together is whether they're representative of No Means No. This is really hard because I think both of these songs are absolutely representative, but a lot has been brought up in the discussion about how now really is, in a sense, kind of this is maybe the wrong word, but it's kind of an outlier in a way, right? It does have a lot of crossover appeal. I'll talk about that in a second. But the fact that it's not like, it's not bass driven, it's a little more, for lack of a better word, honky tonk. But on the other hand, it's like, it does represent everything they can do. They can take a style of music that you might not think is punk, put it in service of an absolutely brilliant piece of poetry, surface different elements and different skills of each of the band members to make a holistic piece that's just fucking gorgeous and amazing. And to me, that is incredibly representative of what No Means No is. So I guess it just depends on how you look at that question, but I think it's incredibly representative, as is Beauty and the Beast in a whole different way. And the fact that these two different songs, for me, could be put up as very representative of what No Means No does is representative in and of itself. The fact that you could play these two songs for someone and go like, this is the same band.
Yep.
And they might go, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I recognize the
Mhm.
voices, but are you fucking kidding? No, it's not the same band.
Yep.
That's what's
Mhm.
representative about these two songs for me.
But the thing that struck me yesterday is when I knew this question was coming. No Means No themselves decided that Now was representative of them because they chose to open their final ever appearance with Now.
Well, I don't know that
Andy
I don't know
wasn't
that
in the band.
Right.
But
they didn't know it was going to be there. They didn't know necessarily it was going to be there.
Oh, that's right.
By the time.
But they chose when they had to. They had a 4-song showcase to get out to that audience.
Yes.
The first song they opened with was Now, which Tom hadn't been a part of.
Right.
And Andy the first voice wasn't the person who sang it on the album.
Yeah. Yeah.
They chose that as a representation of what they sounded like.
Exactly.
And as well they should have, because it's absolutely iconic for their sound. And I think the other, I don't think Beauty and the Beast is a song that most people would bring forth as one of the iconic sort of representational songs. I could be wrong about that. Not that people don't like it, but I don't know, it's the first one on people's lips. But it is very representative of their sound, their humor, the way they layer shit in, the way that they'll mix irreverence with just a switch into just brutal hardcoreness. The themes within it, it's also incredibly representative. So to answer that question, I think both of these songs are very representative, and the fact that both of them are so different paired together, they're very representative. And a shout out, Matthew, to what you were talking about. One of the things I've really appreciated about doing this podcast is really diving into these songs, pulling them out of the album, and not listening to this going into Brother Rat Slade Says, which is always how I've listened to it. To pull this out on its own and listen to it with Now is a totally different fucking 6-piece nugget meal, right? Like, that is really different, because I do love Brother Rat and Slade Says so much that there's a part of me that's always anticipating it. That when I pull that away, it's like, oh, good, there's a part of me that's not trying to invent the future to think about now, right? Not living in what's coming next, but really trying to live with this song. And I really fucking love that. It made me appreciate the song way more. So
it holds its own. Absolutely.
In terms of whether I would introduce newbies to this song, I have many times for Now. I've never introduced Beauty and the Beast. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but Now is just, I think it's one of their easiest songs to introduce people. So here's my story for Now right now, the most recent one. The oldest one, and this is where I was kind of riffing on what you were hinting at, Andy. I won't call him a friend. He was a acquaintance. When on my first year back from college, he went to a different school than I did in my hometown, but he was in my hometown, and he was a absolute fucking redneck, dyed in the wool, goddamn redneck, giant truck, idiot fucking redneck. The only reason I hung out with him is because he had really, really good weed all the time. I'm not proud of it, but he had good weed, and I wanted good weed, and so there we go. But anyway, every time he'd come over to my place, he would beg me. He'd like, could you please put on that song Now? Could you please put on Now? And if it weren't Now, he was listening to fucking country bullshit, right? Like bad music. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll put it on, man. Let's listen to it 4 times in a row. So it converted. He didn't convert him to No Means No, but he loved this fucking song. He loved it. He loved it unapologetically, unironically.
It's so good.
Fucking loved it. And so the other day I was talking to my managing partner at my law firm about No Means No, this podcast a little bit, and he was like, oh, I'd love to hear this band, like, oh, what's some songs you can recommend? And so I put a little email together, and one of the songs I recommended was, you know what, you should listen to Now. Like, I think, this is one I could introduce. I don't know what kind of music you like, but it's not a safe song, but it's a song that's not going to fucking send you screaming right away. If you listen to it, you can probably fucking get into it, even though it really has the depth, musicianship, the themes. It has everything I love about this band. But I'd be more inclined to give this song, Rags and Bones is maybe up there a little bit in terms of their most accessible. Hey, listen to this, whoever. I don't know, you really well. But this song for sure is like, fuck yeah, listen to Now. If you don't love this, just give up. You're not going to like it.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Well, I mean, or whatever, but like, yeah, go fuck yourself. But
I'm
whatever,
just
like,
kidding, but
yeah,
no.
you might as well don't pass go. You're not gonna. But if you like that one, hey,
Yeah.
I got some more drugs for you. Here, I'll push some other songs on you. So
Yeah.
yeah, would I introduce a newbie to now? I have multiple times, and they fucking love it. Would I introduce Beauty and the Beast? Not as a new song. No, there's others I would choose. Not because it's bad, but I just don't think it's their most introductory song. I mean, depending on, but not even that. Depending on the user, if there were people that Jesus Christ, depending on the listener, I still think there are other examples I'd push on people first, even within different genres. This might be a chaser, but I don't think I'd give it to someone first, as much as I love it.
Huh.
So, Andy, how about you with these second topics?
It's funny. I looked at this and I thought about it in terms of like my professional life of like objectivity versus subjectivity. Now, I would say objectively, I would say is a great song to introduce people to No Means No. Subjectively, Beauty and the Beast would be the one I would let them play, because I feel like
Nice.
now is No Means No's waiting room. Like if I was going to say to somebody,
Ah.
here's a song, you're probably not going to get any deeper than this. You're not going to go listen. You're not going to go deep into the back catalogue, but you will always think No Means No are a cool band and they write some good songs. Now
Yeah.
is one
Yep.
they would like. The other one I always think would do that is Slowly Melting, I think, is another song that like most people would really, really like.
Yeah.
But if it was somebody who came to me and said, I'm really into like interesting music, I would play them Beauty and the Beast in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for giving me this selection of songs, because Beauty and the Beast has always like existed. Like I've known it, I've known how to play it, I've played along with it, but actually having that opportunity to go back and listen to it, it is so much better a song than I gave it credit for.
Right?
Mhm.
But I
100%.
wouldn't. Someone would need to have made a few deposits into their commitment to this kind of music,
Right. You
before
got to
I
work your
played
way
them
up to
that.
that.
Whereas
Good way of putting it.
now,
Yeah.
I could like
Yep.
you could shove that on a mixtape of people who liked alternative music.
Exactly.
And
Right.
they
Exactly.
would say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of No Means No," and they would never get any further into that.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, Michelle, how about you?
Well, I second very much a lot of stuff Andy says, but I gotta tell you, I love the outrageous and I love the kick in the ass, the slap in the face. Beauty and the Beast, I would play for anybody. Anybody who's met me knows that I'm gonna play in Beauty and the Beast, you know. And now, yeah, I'd play anybody this, even my mom. I think she'd like it.
Yeah, right?
This now is such it's such a gem. It's such a great song. It makes you feel so good. Beauty and the Beast is fucked, but I've introduced people to it is, but I've introduced people. I've played Brother Rat more to newbies than any other one.
Oh, me too.
Believe it or
Me
not.
too. But the people I
have,
really
'cause
care
it's
about,
just-
the people I care about, that's the one I play.
Well, yeah, and they know music and they appreciate it. But I was like, listen to how big this is with not a lot.
Yeah.
But I'd play both of them. But Beauty and the Beast, absolutely.
Nice. Matthew, how about
Yep.
you?
Yeah, No Means. I mean, now is there aren't any songs like it. No other No Means No songs. It's very, very unique. So in that way, I don't think it's very representative of No Means No. It is, but it isn't. It is, and exactly what you guys would have been saying, and I've said similar things about it in the past. Whether I thought the person would get into No Means No, or whether I just wanted them to like a No Means No song. Those are different.
Right.
Those are different.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
great,
It's a good
great
point.
differentiation. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
good
it's a very accessible song, and I would hope that the best I would hope if I were going to introduce, and I have introduced people to No Means No with now people I don't know very well, just like, oh yeah, this is what they sound like, and then I'll play something totally whack. It's like this is the same band, but now it's usually what I start with, hoping that if they do continue to listen to No Means No, that they'll. I don't think that they might twig on to other songs as much as they might twig on to the lyrics and the depth and the contrast in terms of the content versus the music.
Right.
In now, that might be, oh, this is much more interesting than it sounds on first listen. So as for I think I've already said that Beauty and the Beast brings up for me so many other eras of No Means No, and both of the songs kind of herald what will come later as well. Although, yeah, now it's really just a turning point, as Andy was saying. They're from a live band to a studio band. It is an interesting thought, and I hadn't considered it that way before. Would I introduce a newbie with Beauty and the Beast? Probably not, unless I knew something about their musical tastes or the types of bands that they played in or what instrument they play, maybe. But yeah, would not. It's very representative of them, but I don't think I would introduce. And now it's the other way around. Not really representative, but yeah, things that yeah, I love all the humor and all of the sound effects and all of the weird shit in Beauty and the Beast, which you have to know stuff about No Means No to detect it in now.
Right.
Like it's there, but it's more subtle or more integrated. Yeah. Okay.
I think me and Matthew have a very unique perspective on this, being Cardiac's fans. Because now, to me, is the Arnold of Cardiac, of like No Means No.
Okay.
Like we are used to introducing people to music that is so deep that most people can't even reach the entry point of it with that. And that sounds like what you're saying is like Beauty and the Beast, you really have to really be committed to introduce somebody straight into that.
You can really... It's harder to piss people off with No Means No than it is with Cardiacs. Yeah. People won't have like the visceral revulsion. Throw dog like Sparky right at them, and it's like,
yeah,
or throw like horse's tail or something like that. But now is that same kind of song of like, this kind of follows everything you've learned that music sounds like. But there's also but please don't open that door past this song, because you're probably gonna run away screaming and never talk to me again if you do.
Yeah. I mean, now is the song I want to set people on the path, and Beauty and the Beast is a song that I'm really excited for them to discover once they've decided to go down the path themselves, right? Like,
that's where you meet people on the other side. You leave them,
you're like,
them at the gate, and
God,
when they come and meet you down that path, there's this garden here I can introduce you to. You're gonna love, but you had to make it past that gate in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be there.
Well, now's the part we've been avoiding. We can't avoid any longer. We've got to vote one of these fuckers through.
I don't have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, so this is, again, I think at the end of last episode when we drew these, I was very flippant, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to be so hard. Why are you guys talking about it's going to be so hard? And I take that all back. Like, this is fucking hard as shit, especially re-listening to them now. But it is for me now in this round. Now is the winner. Even though it's by a hair's breadth, and if I'm in a different mood, it could be Beauty and the Beast, because it really musically is the more interesting song in a lot of ways. But I don't know, I'm kind of a meaning guy in a lot of ways. Like, that's really where this band hits me strongest. And now is one of the best poems about the nature of time and human consciousness that I've ever encountered in any work of art, regardless of whether it's a song or not. And that coupled with the musicianship, where it is on the album, how accessible it is in a way, and yet so deep at the same time, which there's not a lot of songs like that. I don't know. It's just higher in the pantheon for me. But Beauty and the Beast is way farther up there than it ever would have been prior to me doing this podcast. And I have a deep appreciation for the song. And I'll be putting it on its own now, when I never would have done that before. Probably I would have just listened to it in the album, but I never would have gone, oh, let me go listen to Beauty and the Beast. I got to hear that one. Now it's fucking definitely one of those I got to go under. But in terms of my vote, it's now. So Andy, how about you? Your first vote.
So I'm doing the museum director thing, and I'm doing the objective versus subjective. No matter what we decide tonight, now is still going to exist and be an entry point, be a gateway portal to lots of people who that is what they know of No Means No. But Beauty and the Beast is where we will all group hug, create a circle, And any of us, when we all get together, any of us from the 25 years of No Means No forums, when we meet, we will hug each other, we'll pull each other tight, and we'll say, yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
All right. Michelle, how about you?
My God.
I feel a dice roll.
I'm going to behold the eyes of a beast. I'm beasting it. I'm a beastie
Nice.
girl. Not
Matthew,
a beastie
you're-
boy.
you're
I'm
either
going to...
gonna
Oh
tip
my
it
God, Matthew.
Or you're going to
Oh,
tie it.
yes. Beauty and the Beast for me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this so much.
Warm up the dice.
No pressure.
Maybe not.
Here, no
Maybe
pressure.
not.
This is
As
just
much-
one song is going to disappear.
Yeah. As much as Beauty and the Beast has certainly risen in my estimation, and how there's a lot more songs like it in No Means No. And I think now, because of where it is and when it was, and what Jordon was saying about the poetry of it, I think still, even though I have a harder time of it than I would have had years before, I think I still have to go with now, because I will go to now and listen to it on its own still. And I think I will continue to do that as well.
And I think
So-
the band
Hell.
cast the casting vote in this, which is what did they choose to play in their final performance? They chose to play
Right.
Now. They did
They
not
chose
choose
Now.
to play Beauty and the Beast.
But
And
the game,
I think
game-
that's your casting. Your casting
nope.
vote.
The game is played how the game is played, man. I got a dice with 4 sides.
Don't
We
you
each
roll
have a
that.
number. We each have a number, and whichever number is rolled is the person whose vote is out. So,
Wait, what?
meaning that if Andy is 1 and he's 1, and I roll a 1, Andy's vote doesn't count, and that would mean that Now goes in. But
Is
if
this,
my vote,
is this legal here?
Yeah,
So
it is
see if
legal.
it's odd or
This is what
even,
we
man.
say. No.
This is
No,
this
we're
is not
doing
a
that.
democracy.
We're
Fuck
not
you.
doing that. This is not a democracy. Fuck you. I
Yeah.
invented the system. Andy is 1. I'm 2 because it's on my Zoom. Matthew is 3. Michelle is 4. We're gonna see whose vote
4.
is meaningless. The answer is 4. Michelle's vote is out. Now goes through.
God damn!
Now is
Get out,
enshrined.
Michelle.
All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom and throw up. I
Yeah.
actually am going to go to the bathroom, and I
It
might
is,
throw up.
ladies and gentlemen, he's drawn the pee. It is pee-pee time. So we're all going to go do our little pee-pees because it's been an hour and fucking and a half already, and we're just through round 1. So everybody go pee-pee. Andy, you're free to just sit and talk into the microphone for a while if you want, or we'll just cut this out. But we'll see when I go into editing. But we'll be back, folks. We're going to jump back into it here, folks, because we're already an hour and a half in, and we got more than half of the show left. So I'm going to go ahead, and this was probably a mistake, not because of how good it is. It's amazing, but it's not super short. But I'm going to read it anyway, so everyone else buckle in. I should have done this while we were peeing, but I had to pee too. So we're going to read a listener submission, and as a reminder to everybody, we still fucking want these. They've really slowed down. I don't blame you. Anybody who's wanted to do this probably already has. But if you're a new listener, and we've got a lot of those. Rob brought in a bunch of new folks, so thanks to that. And if you're still listening, what we want to hear from you, a couple different things. One, Matthew's always better at this than I am. So Matthew, why don't you tell them what we want them to send to us?
Well, I'm realizing that you're probably right. A lot of people are probably listening, and maybe this is the first one that they're listening to. The first one was Sean, or something like that. There's some atypical podcasts that we've released, so maybe I should run down like what we've done already. I mean, we're on episode 51. You can go back and listen to them all. They're all available to you. But basically, it works like a sports bracket. We have a randomizer script where. So songs that it picks out, they're random pairings, could be adjacent on the same album, could be 30 years apart. So we've already gone through all of No Means No's released songs, along with some weird oddities, and now we are matching them back up again, just like a sports bracket. Some have gone through. We had a few wild cards that we brought back in, and voting ones that we did not like having gone out. And so now we're in round 2, and we are bringing guests on to make it more interesting, so you don't have to listen to our boring voices all the time. And thank you again, Andy, for joining us this evening.
Yes.
So
You
what
missed
we
out.
do,
We have totally disrespected Oh No Bruno. That's your mission statement. We
Yes,
disrespect
for sure.
Oh No Bruno.
for sure.
I poop on it. I poop on it. And we are taking your submissions. No means nothing podcast at gmail.com. You can send in kind of our icebreaker questions. What does no means no mean to you? What is your no means no origin story? And did you have some sort of no means no related story to tell us? Some personal anecdote, something that happened to at a show, or a person that I don't know, introduced you to them who is no longer with you, or something like that. So there's all kinds of stuff, and mostly it will all get read on the podcast, and we have one of those this evening. So again, send those on in. Also, if you want to, you can give us the gears for one of our choices, or what songs make a case for something that got voted off that you think should be voted back on, something like that, anything like that. Just send it on in. No means nothing podcast at gmail.com.
And you may have already mentioned this, Matthew, but we love it when you write us in something. But what we love even more is when you fucking record it and send it in. I want to hear you say it.
It's cool to hear
right?
people's voices.
We don't mind reading it. We really don't. But I love it rather when I hear you guys say it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Just record it into your iPhone, send it to us. If you don't know how to do that, email us. We can help you figure out how to do that.
Oh, we got to tell that story of Den from Darby.
Oh, do it. Please tell it. This is the best fucking story about listener submissions ever. Go for it, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, fellow Dan from Darby, he sent in this wonderful story where No Means No ended up staying with his parents a bunch of times on various tours, and it started out with the Showbiz Giants. That's the first time that happened. And so on our little trip, we were hanging out one sunny afternoon with John Wright and his wife, Wendy, and Scott Henderson of Victoria Indie fame, as well as Shovelhead and member of the Showbiz Giants, and recording any number of wonderful and significant Victoria releases. So he starts telling a story about this guy, and this extremely drunk guy in Darby, who and wound up with the show and ended up inviting the bands back to stay with his parents. And he told the very story that Dan had told us on the podcast. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's familiar. So,
Yep.
It was pretty much note for note. So that's kind of the way that Scott Henderson is. So I know that it is the truth. So Dan, despite your drunkenness, you remembered all the details pretty well, because Scott Henderson seems to have an eidetic memory. And so there you go. Letter for letter.
He said it was the best sleep he ever had. Didn't he say that? He's like, yeah, that's the best sleep I ever had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
in somebody else's house. And he just
pretty,
remembered that very fondly, that guy.
Pretty phenomenal. And
the house was amazing, and it was very, cool to stay there.
Yeah.
Is that Derby, England? You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. Derby Victoria Inn.
Oh, wow.
It was an amazing
the same
show.
venue. The same venue.
Derby Victoria Inn. I saw them on the No Means No One tour.
Gotcha.
I was doing my masters just down the road, and the following week Cardiacs played. So I did back-to-back drives to Derby to see No Means No and Cardiacs, and I took the same friends to both. And
wicked!
They literally needed to go outside for oxygen when Rob's bass kicked in. Rob's bass just blew out the PA system. It was so loud.
He did talk about that.
Yeah,
he talked about that. Didn't he?
All right.
It was like blowing the windows out of the pub.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Rob's bass was not easy on the DJ's rock.
Rob's bass was probably 3 cities along. Did you get it? Rob's bass was still vibrating walls.
Still vibrating to this day around the world. All right, so we're going to listen to submission, which kind of covers all the things we've asked about, from listener Jordon Dunsmuir. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Jordon, thank you so much. And awesome first name, by the way. So we're in that club.
Right.
So we're going to go ahead and...
JD.
He spells it different, but that's all right. I'll forgive him. So here we go. We're going to dive into Jordan's story here. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was starting to get interested in punk rock, along with my older brother. We started with
Good boy.
mainstream radio stuff like Green Day and The Offspring, but our father, an enthusiastic lifelong fan of all manner of aggressive music, encouraged us to investigate further and was soon chaperoning us to the rare all-ages gigs that would come through our small town of Nelson, British Columbia. We saw bands like The Smugglers, Submission Hold, and the biggie for me at the time, DOA. Around this time, we were constantly watching and videotaping music videos that would air on Much Music, which was kind of like Canada's lower budget approximation of MTV. They were giving a small amount of non-primetime air to play this goofy music video, a punk rock cover of Stompin' Tom Connor's The Hockey Song, a song I think just about every Canadian knows. This band was called the Hanson Brothers, and our father, who had lived in Victoria for a number of years from the late 70s through the mid-80s, told us that they were actually the side project of a group called No Means No, who he'd seen a few times back in their early days. We ended up getting a copy of Sudden Death from our town's surprisingly decent record store, and we were hooked. I was never a big hockey fan like my dad or my brother, but I was instantly drawn to the catchy, Ramonesy tunes on that album, and we played it constantly for weeks. Shortly thereafter, my brother brought home an album by this No Means No band, The Worldhood of the World as Such. I was excited to hear what this other project by these guys sounded like. He put it on the CD player, and I thought it was okay. I remember really loving Humans, I Got a Gun, and My Politics. I thought it was definitely interesting, but I'd be lying if I said a lot of those songs didn't go straight over my head. I did think it was really cool how prominent the bass was. Primus being my favorite band at the time, and still one of my favorites. Either way, despite not immediately loving it, I listened to that album a lot, and some of the songs that maybe didn't grab me immediately were really starting to grow on me. Like this weird song, Predators. How the hell does anyone write a song like that? Am I crazy, or does this song, that I think objectively rocks, not actually have any guitar? That's correct. Seemingly, immediately after giving the album, No Means No were actually going to be playing in Nelson, but I was still only 12 years old, a good 7 years away from BC's legal drinking age. There was definitely no way I was going to be allowed into the club. My dad went, however, and came back with a fresh Mr. Happy t-shirt for me. Mr. Happy quickly became my nickname at school because of how often I wore that damn shirt. And when it fell apart, I ordered another one. And when that one fell apart, I ordered yet another one. My dad also brought the news that just a couple of days from now, No Means No would be playing an all-ages show in the neighboring town of Castlegar, just half an hour away. The venue? Stanley Humphreys Secondary School in the school's drama theater. Thanks to the effort of what I assume has to be the coolest student... What's going on? And thanks to the efforts of what I assume has to be the coolest student council in the history of public education, they had persuaded the powers that be to use the majority of their event's budget to pay for the band to perform for the students. Oh, I see that Matthew's writing. I'm going to stop for a second because he thinks I've lost connection.
Yeah,
don't,
something just...
Don't worry about it. It's recording fine on my side. I'll be able to get it all in the mix. So we'll continue. Let's see. They had persuaded the powers that be to use the majority of their event's budget to pay for the band to perform for the students in lieu of a traditional school dance. I'm pretty sure it was free for the students, but it was open to the public as well. If I had to guess, I'd say the band or their booker may have pushed for that, perhaps thinking that merch sales from a few dozen 15 to 17-year-olds might make up for not the most lucrative night. My persuasive father had even mooched our way onto the guest list after running into them when they were having lunch the next day. For years, whenever we were listening to the small parts and the "Can I get in for free?" refrain came on, we would joke that the voice was my dad's.
Oh, that's great.
The night of the show came, and to our surprise, there was actually a good turnout. I'm not sure what the band was expecting, but there was a good mix of students, punks, older fans, and, most hilarious to me, a few skeptical and concerned-looking teachers and faculty staff that had been enlisted to chaperone and keep an eye on the proceedings.
Jesus Christ.
A couple things that stood out to me when they took the stage. The drummer was set up right at the front of the stage instead of behind the rest of the band. He also had his own vocal mic. Prior to this, I'd never heard of a drummer being a vocalist as well. Also, these were the most unassuming, normal-looking Canadian dudes, completely unlike the mohawked and leather-jacketed bands I'd seen prior, and they looked old enough to be my dad. They opened with a song I recognized, Victim's Choice. Instantly, I realized they were leagues ahead of the bands I'd seen so far. Within the first 15 minutes, I knew they were my favorite band. They were playing these complex songs with such precision, but It was never too wanky or esoteric. The songs still fucking rocked and were firmly rooted in punk rock, and they looked like they were having an absolute blast playing them. I wish I could see a set list of that show because I'd love to know what else they played. They played a few more off Worldhood that I recognized, and I know they played Disappear, even though Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie hadn't been released yet, because I have a vivid memory of attempting to dance by hopping in place like an idiot during that song. As I started acquiring the rest of their albums, I picked out other songs I recognized from that night. Big Dick, What Slade Says, and Two Lips, Two Lungs, and One Tongue. My dad laughed his ass off when they played the theme song from The Love Boat. I remember that. By the next time they came through town, my brother and I were full-on No Means No fanatics and now had almost everything they'd released, including the brand new album they were touring on, Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie. Still far too young to be admitted to the bar they were playing, we decided to watch, quotes, the show from outside the venue, along with a friend of my brother's who had also become a rabid fan. They'd opened up the alley doors so patrons could smoke outside, so the show was actually quite audible, although we couldn't see them performing at all.
Oh, cool.
Most of the people that stepped out to smoke were amused at what major fans we were. We were singing along and dancing outside. It was so much fun, the three of us having our own party in the alley. One very drunk man pleaded with the bouncer to let us in, because in his words, we were the biggest fans there. He was politely told to fuck off. The band even dedicated a song to us, saying, "This one's for the young lads outside," or something to that effect.
Oh, come on. How cool is that?
One of my favorite show memories, and I wasn't even technically in attendance. I saw them many more times over the years, and they were never anything short of astounding. I even got to open for them one time with my very amateurish high school punk band. We must have looked ridiculous at this sold-out nightclub show with our puny 15-watt amps propped up on chairs. I also got to see plenty of Hanson Brothers, show business giants, and Tom solo gigs as well. My mom, who was never a big fan per se, but had become familiar with their music by way of it constantly being played in her house, was genuinely impressed by both their musicianship and lyricism, and went to see Tom perform one night with a couple of friends when he came through town. I was still underage and unable to get in. After the show, she told me that she told me that she had told Tom that she really likes their song "I'm an Asshole," but when she sings the song, she changes the lyrics to "I'm a nice guy." I was
my God.
I was duly mortified. No Means No has been with me for almost my entire music listening life, and they'd had an enormous impact on me. I've been a fanatic for other bands as well, but I will always return to No Means No. Their musicianship, delivery, and brilliant lyricism has never been matched for me in such a unified statement of a band. There's been a void left ever since they retired, but as sad as I was when they first announced it, I'll never second guess their decision. They spent 35 years proving they knew what they were doing. If they thought it was time to go, then it was time to go. Thanks so much for the excellent work you guys do on the podcast. It's been awesome hearing such in-depth analysis, even when I'm yelling at you for some of your verdicts. And it's gotten me to reevaluate some of their songs that I've been a little more dismissive of in the past. Be strong, be wrong.
Oh my God.
Jordon,
I love this guy.
Thank you.
He's a big Cardiacs fan too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was brilliant. So now I fucking love it. This is why we want more of these to come in, because I just fucking love it.
Yeah.
So we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and we've not even started on what are 2 other fucking kaiju that's going to go in at least another hour. Holy shit. With my internet popping in and out, which just makes me want to puke. But we're all good.
Yeah,
so
it was a little hairy there.
It doesn't matter too much because all of us are recording our tracks on our computers. So mine's still recording.
I don't understand that because I'm a
as
Luddite.
long as at the end they all get uploaded, we're good.
Because if I don't hear it, it's not happening.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Luddite.
If I'm not panicking, you don't need to panic. All right, so listen, folks, we're going to start round 2, and Jesus Christ. Okay, first thing about these 2 songs that Sean, you already know what they are because Sean let the cat out of the bag early on, but I'm going to remind you. But here's what's wild about it. Both of these absolute kaiju songs, these top shelf No Means No songs, are People's Choice songs. They both got voted out of round 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the fuck? So our first song is Sex Mad off of the eponymous Sex Mad, 1986. It lost to Long Days in episode 21. I stand by that choice, but it lost to Long Days.
I bet I know what I voted for.
And then,
Don't worry.
no, you know exactly what you voted for.
Come on.
Then in one of the
please.
absolute highlights and nadirs of the podcast, 0 + 2 = 1 lost against Mary, which I still don't like. I don't know how the fuck. I mean, I I still stand by that choice, kind of, but I don't fucking know. Like, give me a
Yep.
break. That was the worst.
You threw
worst
something
pairing in
across the
history.
room. It was
Yep.
it was bad.
I did.
Yeah.
They both,
So
yeah,
People's
they
Choice-
both lost, and they're both title tracks.
And they're both title tracks, yeah. So what the fuck? I don't know
Right.
how that goes.
Right.
And I'm really glad they're both back in, and I don't want to send either of these to the corner, but here we
Oh
go.
my god, what the fuck are we doing to
So
ourselves?
before Matthew takes his turn talking about these songs first, we're gonna listen to a little mashup of Sex Mad and 0 + 2 = 1. So strap them on, folks, and get to pegging.
And no are like day and night. One breaks as the other is falling. Question the answers, stir the solutions. In the end, for light, you must burn your conclusions. Night and darkness love silence above all. Not the equations of sun-loving apes, or their prayers for the dead of a world that's to come. 0 + 2 = 1.
All right,
It may
Matthew,
not be fun.
lead us off.
Is that a sex thing right there?
Yeah, probably.
Sexual intercourse right there?
That was interesting.
All right.
I looking
Scary thing
up
to
these
talk
songs on my phone so that I can like listen to the songs individually, just the way my phone works. And yeah, there's a lot of typing in sex. Naomi Zone has a lot of songs with sex in the title, that's for sure.
They do.
To drill down, yeah, this is very very indicative of the sort of chaotic and controlled chaos of the period. Like absolutely. The lyrics are relatively simple and a relatively simple rhyme scheme as well, and regular, which is kind of unusual for Nomi's. Now it's iambic tetrameter, if you give a shit about such things. The performance, they're very, very in tune with each other, and this is one of those songs where they are very much braided together, like everybody's doing their part. The rhymes are like pretty simple, pretty funny. But what I really like about this song is that it is that almost like not a round, but the same lyrics are repeated in different contexts, different musical contexts, which is really, really cool about this song.
Yeah, yep.
So it's repetitive, but totally controlled. I love the dreamy sort of 70s-ish breakdown. I guess there's quite a bit of that sort of thing on Sex Mad. What else have I got to say about it? It's both of these songs are about how thinking won't help you in some ways. How Sex Mad is just like you are completely disengaged except for one thing, and 0 + 2 = 1 means thinking won't help you, no matter how much you think.
Right. Yeah.
And comparing the two, it's so difficult. They're so different. I mean, Sex Mad is very much about the sex drive. It is just very, very focused. It's very, very directional. Whereas 0 + 2 = 1 is a lurching. I might have said this before. It seems like something I might have said or Jordon might have said, but yeah, 0 + 2 = 1 is like that thing in the wasteland lurching towards Bethlehem to be born.
Yep.
It is. I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and there are these tentacled monsters. I don't remember what they were called, but they're big and scary, and you can only see them kind of indistinctly. And that's kind of like this song. This is definitely one of the songs that's so visually evocative for me, almost synesthetic. It is right in that whole sci-fi apocalyptic universe that No Means No, maybe inadvertently, maybe just what's going on in Rob's head. Sex Mad is an Andy song. 0 + 2 = 1 is very much a Rob song, I think. So yeah, this let's see, it's not a fun song to listen to in some ways. I wouldn't say fun. Is like Sex Mad is fun. It's catchy. There's like a lot of repetition to it. 0 + 2 = 1 is repetitive, but it's very lurching, and it is maybe the song that maybe wants to eat you or do harm to you the most in No Means It, but like not. It's hostile, but not personally so. It doesn't give a shit about you. It's like a Lovecraftian elder god.
I was going to say it's an outer god from Lovecraft for sure.
Yeah.
I had in my notes,
Yeah.
being Mr. Art Museum Director, 0 + 2 is a Hieronymus Bosch painting made
Yeah,
into
right.
music.
Yeah.
That,
Very good.
The Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yeah.
Everything that is like messed up in the world, in the universe, in a song is 0 + 2 = 1.
It's interesting that both of us sort of came up with somewhat classical religious references, because this is a very, nihilistic, and it so encapsulates everything that No Means No kind of represents and thinks, and so much of what's in their other songs.
And so
the
sharply
performance,
that way as well.
very much so, very, very crystalline. So it's very, very sharp. Some of my absolute favorite lyrics in any No Means No song, although sometimes they're not disconnected so much, but like so crystalline in themselves.
Right.
Jordon and I had a lot of fun at the sort of, it was beginning where you could plug verbal prompts into AIs and it'd shoot out some. So I think I put this whole song into AI images.
This isn't what I don't understand what the world is. This is exactly what my world is. From Rob.
Yeah. Pretty much. The song is always like inimical, and I had to listen carefully. And this is another one of those examples where the member stands back. I had to sort of think about whether there was guitar in it. And I'm like, yes, there's guitar in it, but it's not being guitar-y in any way at all.
It's not.
He's not playing. It's not played so much as tortured.
He's not strumming.
He's producing
tortured, yes.
color. He's
God.
the lurching beast is there, and like Andy's guitar is like the distant I don't know, waterfall or lightning or a crack in the road. Or something like that. It's just entirely environmental, and I don't know whether I'd be able to think of another song where somebody plays like that, but it totally fits. And I kind of wonder, I wish that I had the opportunity to watch him do that, because I wouldn't have been paying
Oh
attention
my
back when I
God.
got to see him play this song live. Just whether he would be doing it the same way each time. I kind of doubt it, but then at the same time,
Right.
they've surprised me before.
Right.
Just he might have been just feeling it, and I need to do something like this at this point. But who knows
Right.
whether how scripted it was, or whether it would
Goddamn.
ever be written down in the music. This is something that occurred to me, and something I've always thought. But the temple is founded, the murder is done, the temple is founded. When the current is grounded, its circuitry hums. I often think that that's Slade saying that lyric, and that is the machine that he's crouching
Slade.
before in what Slade says.
Yeah.
That is the very machine.
Huh.
I think everything else that I have, it's not a light and a happy song. Sex Mad is not happy either. It's just so primal, and 0 + 2 = 1 is just something else, something other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other.
Yeah, something very other. Okay, that's I could keep going, but I'm not going to.
Nice.
Somebody else's turn.
All right, Andy, you're up.
Oh,
Whoa.
I will follow that very well. 0 + 2, I'm going to flip the two songs. 0 + 2 = 1 is what No Means No should and could have sounded like when Andy joined. If Andy's role was to provide ambient, textural guitar and noise to what they were doing.
Yeah.
I have a note here that is, this is Rob's magnum opus. If you take the Andy era as being the peak No Means No. This is Rob playing a single bass line that has
Yes.
no deviation, and John
Right.
and Andy are creating all kinds of ambience around it
man.
that makes
Yes.
it, as I said, it's like Lovecraftian, it's Hieronymus Bosch. I can't picture this song and listen to it without thinking in my head of Rob on a dark amber background, just snarling those lyrics
Yeah.
in a way that he didn't do in anything else. And to me, I put myself a note down. This is what No Means No with Andy Kerr added could have sounded like if it had gone down this path. Everything else we've talked about that is like Rob joined Infamous Scientists and they pulled everything together goes everywhere else. But if it was Rob's demonic, deep, scary bass lines with John supporting it, and they needed people to support that, that is what 0 + 2 = 1 sounds like.
Yep. I think that's it.
It's like,
do.
it's demonic. It's unlike anything they ever did. And that's why 0 + 2 = 1 is such a pivotal album for me, because it's where they hit their most commercial, they hit their most professional, and they hit their most high-end concept of what they were doing. And they chose to take a path after that because Andy removed himself from the conversation in all of that. But this is so... again, this is when I talked earlier about Rob joining Infamous Scientists. This is Andy joining No Means No. This is if he had come into John and Rob and just provided guitar to support and amplify what they were doing. It's just such an insane song. But it's also it's such an example of their track sequencing, because it comes off the back of some,
like you
of
mentioned,
some up,
Jordon. Yep.
like jumpy, funky songs, and then this comes in with a single word and just like pulls the whole of the band down, and they play this crazy demonic piece, and then it goes back into an upbeat, funky song again. Like 0 + 2 = 1 as an album, it's not their best album, but as a piece of work, it's like the Rosetta Stone of their music. It's where like everything you understand about their music comes from is if you understand 0 + 2 = 1. Because it's where they came from to where they went, and it's the translation of everything they did.
Yeah, it's a fulcrum. It's definitely
it's
like
the one that I'm
it's-
always
it's-
glad that they
it's-
didn't tack other shit onto, because it's so
And-
perfect
and again,
crystalline
it's
on
like-
its own.
And like again, the museum director in me that has to understand historical context and take all these things in. Wrong isn't necessarily my favorite album, but it's their most important album. But 0 + 2 = 1 is where they basically gave you their Rosetta Stone of like, this is who we are going to be and this is who we are, and that sets the context for absolutely everything they do. And 0 + 2 = 1 is like a crazy song that is just all the bits of what make No Means No DNA,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily follow it through. It's like it's like the culmination of it all, rather than where we're going to go. Because the minute they add Tom, who has a different role in all of this, it doesn't follow it. But it's like what the whole 4 albums leading up to this could be is
I do think
encapsulated
that-
in 0 + 2 = 1.
In the
I
end,
think
for
0
light,
plus-
you must burn your
your
conclusions.
conclusions.
Yeah.
I think we hear more of this strain in Mr. Happy than any of the other albums, because Rob was so seminal on that, and that was so much his vision that I hear more of this strain taken to its logical conclusion in a way in Mr. Happy than in anything that comes after it. When Tom
Music
came
that
out.
wants to hurt you.
And that's a great example, because what Mr. Happy shows you is what they jettisoned when Andy left. But then they had to pick back up again and find a way to fit into what Tom did in the later albums. Is really, really interesting, because Mr. Happy is like such a unique album in their whole catalog. But it's the interesting thing for me is Mr. Happy isn't a replication of Mama plus 15 years.
No.
It's what did we learn from having Andy in the band, and how can we cover that?
That's right.
And then they put Tom in, and he took a new thing onto that.
Yeah.
It's just it's a fascinating analysis of like what a band could be when they'd been one thing, then they'd expanded, then they had to shift and what they wanted to keep from what they were before.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. Expanded
Really
and
interesting.
then contracted, but not back to the same thing that they had expanded from.
And then what they became with Tom was a whole totally different thing.
Yeah.
Versus what they were with Andy. And that's why I love the conversation you had with Jason the other week of like what they lost, because the other element of this is they split what they were doing into Hanson Brothers and No Means No. Jason made a point that was fascinating to me, which was Oh No Bruno was a Hanson Brothers song that was too good for Hanson Brothers.
Yeah.
It was a No Means No song.
Yeah.
Post 0 + 2 = 1, when they got a song that was pure Hanson Brothers, it was more lucrative as a Hanson Brothers song than it was as a No Means No song. And No Means No became the art, and Hanson Brothers became the commercial element of what they did.
The only point I would disagree on that is I feel just off the top of my head that far more Hanson Brothers leaked into those later albums than on anything earlier.
Yes.
There are far more just like straight up Hanson Brothers, and then maybe I should say maybe it's just straight up John songs on that regard.
Yeah, John's more
but I think
songwriter.
it plays into what you're saying exactly too, in the sense that it's also because they didn't have the creative element of Andy in there anymore. Tom was not adding in the element of songwriting that Andy was, and so
that's where I found what Jason said was really, really interesting. Was they would create his point, and you all agreed with, was on the early albums, every now and again, they had to prove they were still a hardcore band.
Yeah.
But as they wrote those songs post Andy leaving, that was like, okay, we want to prove we're a hardcore band. Do we push that down to Hansen's, or do we make that a No Means No song?
Right.
And like when you actually look, it was fascinating for me the last few weeks after you talked to Jason, was their albums. In terms of my enjoyment of them, I loved how deep their albums were as they moved along, but they never had that immediacy that the early albums had, because they would throw Oh No Bruno, they would throw a No Sex, they would Sex Mad into there. They all became statements, like artistic statements, because they had that avenue to siphon off the hardcore music into the Hansons that had been a songwriting forum for early No Means No, became a commercial forum for later No Means No.
Right.
And like when you like, I look at, like, as I get past Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie, and I get into like All Roads Lead to Asphalt and the stuff past that, it loses. All it has is the arty Rob focused music compared to the all three people pushing hardcore power chord music.
Right.
And it's really fascinating to me that like can you imagine any band who ever existed suddenly created a more commercially viable, profitable side project the way No Means No did? Is all of a sudden like, I can write a song today. Will it be for my art project, or will it be for the one that pays my rent?
Right.
It's a really this is what makes them such a fascinating band.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever had it in mind to do those exact things, but they just had the talent right there at their core to do that, where they had those avenues that they already pre-created to do such a thing.
That's
right. But towards the end, they released more Hanson's albums than they released No Means No albums.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like the Andy period that was all No Means No, even though we now know, and Jason will elaborate on, it's one of my funniest things on the No Means No social media pages is how few people understand Hanson's were so deep in early No Means No.
Oh yeah.
Because nobody understands they were there.
And Rob talked about it in the interview about how John was drunk and fell asleep and was woke up a Ramones fan.
And that's the crazy thing is like literally, Rob literally couldn't sing.
Yeah.
And Hanson's had to exist for an avenue for infamous scientists to evolve into their No Means No period. Is fascinating to me. But
Robs.
So what about Sex Mad, Andy?
So Sex Mad. So okay. Sex Mad. To do the whole Alcoholics Anonymous thing. My name is Andy, and I accept that Sex Mad is the greatest No Means No song ever written.
Oh my God! Is that your favorite?
So you think that No Means No were recorded on reel-to-reel, two brothers in their basement recording funky, weird, avant-garde music, and Sex Mad, the first song on the first album under the name of that band, is Andy stepping forward and saying, "Fuck you. This is my band now."
Yeah.
It is so Andy. It is Andy writ large. It is, we are going loud. We are going big. We are going songwriting. We are not conceptual. We are just writing hardcore punk songs. And I've got like, my notes are like, the first half of that album is Andy and John writing music.
Yeah.
There is
yep.
no Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And to my point earlier, side A is Rob joins Infamous Scientists, and side B is Andy joins No Means No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's the long, drawn out 5, 6, 7 minute not solo music that Andy adds some value to. Whereas that whole first side is Andy and John writing incredible alternative punky songs that Rob gets to add his bass to.
Yeah. This FU too is what
Yeah.
he adds.
And
Go fuck yourself.
like, can you imagine, like, No Means No were who they were, and you put on Sex Mad the song on Sex Mad the album, even when they played that live all the way through the decades after past Andy leaving, when they got crazy playing that song, it was Rob stood to the back of the stage.
Yep.
He stood to the back of the stage, flinging his head in time to the bass he was playing. But, like, when you actually, in context, listen to that album, that first album, post John and Rob solo basement project, is Andy stepping up to the front and saying, "This is my band. This is who we are. We are a pop punk band. We play loud guitar, and the guitar drives everything."
I don't know about this pop punk thing, but the fact that you said the guitar drives everything, I've always thought of Andy as like the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Sex Mad,
But-
he is playing the root of the song.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Rob is all over the place with that.
Oh God.
So I have a note here that is a general point to some of your other decisions, and which is, how dare you call this song simple? Because you have a tendency to call 3 and 4 chord songs simple.
No, this is not.
No, this is not a simple
This is like a 3 or 4 chord song. This is like a Oh No Bruno.
kind of. No,
But
this
like-
is not like Oh No Bruno. This is way more complex than Oh No
This
Bruno
is a symphony
musically.
right here.
But as a
It's a symphony.
guitarist, here's my point: is like Oh No Bruno, Tom never figured out live how to play Oh No Bruno the way Andy played it.
Oh yeah, no. Andy's
That
in a total
little
other class.
breakdown, Tom just played a drone note, and Andy played the actual line from the song. This is another one of those songs.
So the melodic line.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like there's
Andy
so
would
many
tend to-
parts to this song.
Andy would lose himself in music and tends to lose himself. And you can hear
Yeah.
it in all different contexts. Tom is much more controlled, very much not contrived,
Yeah.
but
He's-
everything is extremely
to me,
conscious.
he was scratchy, and Andy was like wide.
Yeah.
So my gift to this podcast and my gift to the No Means No community is the Andy Core tritone. I have espoused this forever.
Oh, the tritone, baby.
If you
Oh, yeah.
want to understand how to play
Satan.
Andy Core era,
Satan.
it is the
For real.
Musica in Diabolis. Andy plays a
Satan.
weird little chord, like a fingering part on his guitar that is called a tritone. It is a flattened
Yeah.
fifth triad. If you want to understand how to play guitar to No Means No in the Andy era, any point the sound just gets wild, you play the tritone. You play the root
Yeah.
fifth and root octave and flattened fifth,
Flat fifth. Yeah.
and it is
3
everywhere
whole
over
steps.
his music.
Tritone.
Yeah.
Tritone. 3 whole steps. C
And-
to D, D to E, E to F sharp. Tritone.
And it's
That's where it comes
insane
from.
when you know that chord shape, and on a guitar it is your index finger plays one note, your middle finger plays 1 fret along, and your ring finger plays another fret along again. you are playing the Andy Kerr tritone. And that is where he just filled every song of his era with noise. And my point a long time ago I figured about No Means No is John and Rob actually occupy like a tiny little bit of real estate in the music.
Tight.
Andy fills everything with that.
Yep.
He's just making so much noise.
Fucking bunt cake.
Yeah,
You poke the holes in the bunt cake, and the fucking shit falls in the holes.
It just fills out, unlike anything else, because they are so tight together. What Rob is kicking into John on most of the songs, and Andy with his tritone chord, is just like blowing the whole song apart.
Yep. And in the live videos, you often see Rob looking at John, and they just know to let Andy just do his thing. Rob and John are often looking at each other very, very much, and Andy, they just know he's going to fill in the gaps.
And this is Andy's first song in the band.
Right.
That's what's crazy. So when you actually watch it, when the point where Andy plays his guitar solos, Rob does his absolute freak out hammer-ons bass stuff that he does later in other songs. But Andy does a flip of the weird discordant guitar playing and then moves into the weird droning guitar playing that became his signatures. And he did one or the other all the way through his time in No Means No.
Just tenure. Yep.
And it's, as a guitarist, it's crazy because he figured out an even better guitar solo after this was released. Like, when you listen to the 88, 89 bootlegs, there's a bootleg of them playing in Guelph in 89.
The hell is
when
that?
they play this song,
City outside
and
Toronto.
Andy plays this really, really crazy solo. And Rob is just doing the craziest, picking across the notes to play them in like eighth notes across the bass line. When Andy hits the head of his solo, there's a guy on the cassette recorder recording the solo says, "This isn't an easy band to dance to."
Oh, that's great.
So
that is totally fucking hilarious.
There is so much in Sex Mad that is, it's literally the first song they pushed out on their first record that was This Is Who No Means No Are Now. That is just Andy being, this is my band. And we never appreciate that. It is like Andy is so driving what they are doing. But then 0+2 is so fascinating because it is, if John and Rob had stayed where
Rob,
they were.
Exactly.
And Andy's role was just to create ambience around the darkness of what they were creating. So literally, you could have a podcast that was nothing else but these two, the yin and the yang of No Means No.
Yeah,
the,
John
the
and Rob.
Songwriting with everyone getting a part versus we are just really dark and we all play into each other.
Yeah.
And that is
fucking great. Fucking great.
That is my...
all right, Strangey. Follow that up.
I don't want to read anything. I don't
follow
think
that, Strangey.
I don't know.
You got to have something
all right,
to say.
I'm gonna read it quick. I'm always quick and dirty. All right. Putting Sex Mad against 0+2 = 1 is blasphemous, and I feel bad for us that we have to choose one over the other. This should be illegal. Can you tell I'm reading this? With all that in mind, I still know which one I was going to pick pretty immediately. 0+2 = 1 is a powerful, powerful, huge piece with tendrils, tentacles, testicles that sludges down the street and takes down everything with it. A mudslide preceded by an earthquake. And to continue with my weather report, Sex Mad is more like a hurricane in its delivery. Delivery, fast, panicked, maniacal, and fierce. Both of these songs churn and pull you in, but one is much more slower, deliberate, and pull as opposed to the other one that's an irate explosion of the other. Was Sex Mad the one where was Sex Mad the one where we couldn't tell if it was Andy or John singing?
I think we
Because
had
it's
questions
definitely
about it, but
John
yeah.
singing.
I have
And
that note.
it's
I have
John.
that note in my notes too.
Yeah,
which is like of
it's
all
John.
their songs, that was the one
Yeah.
that when Andy left, it was like
John singing it.
totally John took it over. It was the same song.
John singing it, and he sounds amazeballs. The guitar in this is unreal, and I imagine Andy was moving all over the place when he played it. John and Rob just sitting there with Andy, just like we said in one of the first episodes, where he's just sprinkling everything over it. The ghostly sounding drums. That's what I'm talking about in the earlier recordings that has this reverb on it. The ghostly sounding drums always pleased my ears so much and added such mystery. The riff in 0 + 2 = 1 that Rob plays is absolutely hypnotic. There's really no better word for it and how it sounds. His vocal work and use of his lyrics in this is just astounding, and the power in it is just gigantic. Both of these songs, behemoth works of art, and are truly remarkable works.
Nice. I absolutely agree.
Yep.
I'm going to jump right into it because we're already at 2.5 hours. And
I know.
Another round.
We're going back.
I'm going to ask us all on round two of this. On round 2 of this, we're going to be a little bit more succinct, probably. We'll see. But I'm going to dive in because.
Yep.
So
I've had 5 beers.
Good for you.
You're
Sex
on Pacific
Mad
time.
is...
I'm on Eastern time.
I know. What are you going to go to work tomorrow?
All right. Settle down. So
Sex
Mad is a song that, I would never, ever put this at the top of their pantheon. I just wouldn't. So I really like this song a lot. I'm not a punk rocker, so let's put that on the table. No Means No is the most hardcore band I like, and I love that. And they've spoken to me. There are no other big punk hardcore bands on my favorite bands ever. So in terms of that part of it, no. I've heard songs like Sex Mad. I haven't from other bands. Of course you haven't. But I could, in my ignorance, say, well, that's a song I could hear other bands play. I could never imagine another band playing 0 + 2 = 1 in a million years. That said, just like with Beauty and the Beast, listening to the song on its own, really diving into it, it's a masterpiece. Sex Mad is.
Yep.
It's a masterpiece. Yep. The musicianship is crazy. Andy is fucking on fire in his guitar in this.
Oh my God.
Everything about it is so tight, so beautiful. Even the lyrics. It's not just a song about sex. This is pure, it is, but it's about the pure unadulterated id of the sexual drive. It's so intense. And it comes through in the musicianship. It comes through in the delivery. It comes through in the staccato way that you just can't fucking ever help it. You're just wanting to pop out of your goddamn pants. And it also honors the feminist side of No Means No in that lyric of, I know it's not for me to take, right? Like that's a small thing, but that's an important bit that they put in there. This is that id and that drive, but there's that ego that still steps in and says, but I know I can't just fucking run around and tear people's clothes off, right?
Asshole.
I want it, but there's still part of it that's holding on, right?
I'm not an asshole.
And there's still that part of it that is really like driven and really tight and really intense and really smart. So it is holistic in its own way. It's really holistic. Andy, I see your hands up. You're just gonna have to wait. You have to wait. I'm on my roll. So
He's gone.
If I interrupt myself, I'll lose my train. So it's really driving. It's really intense, but it doesn't reach to me the level of 0 + 2 = 1, which for me is a song that is delivered from somewhere else. Rob mentioned to us that many of his songs that he feels closest to, and this is something I was really interested in hearing from him and wanted to know, just got delivered and just ended up in his mind, like out of nowhere. And to me, that's the root of creativity. This is for me as an artist, as an actor and stuff like that. That's what I've always been searching for. It's what I look for. It's what I love in drawing or anything else. Those moments where it's like, no, this came through me. 0 + 2 = 1
Yeah.
feels like one of those delivered songs that wasn't constructed. It was manifested through this band. And I think especially through Rob's lyrics. And this is a song where you have this song in 5/4 time that's got this, it's like,
Yes,
it's
you
it's
didn't. Yes.
it's the
Thank you
dark
for mentioning
it's
that.
the dark clockwork, right? It's just clockwork enough to make you think,
Yeah.
oh, it's the gear behind the universe, but it's off. It's not the gear behind the universe. It's in
Right.
5/4 time.
5/4. Fuck you.
It's got these obscene, beautiful textures of Andy behind with the guitars, and John with the fucking whatever that percussion instrument is. He's like dragging the stick along the ribs. It's just like that's just happening all the time, and it's just
It's gone
this.
nuts.
It's this beautiful reminder, and even the lyrics ping between this destruction of our need to find order in the universe, but not just nihilism. It's pointing to something greater than what we can understand. I don't feel like this song to me is saying there's no meaning. It's saying you will never understand it. You will never be able to understand it because you're so our perception, our understanding is so small. The universe is way too big for you. I don't think it's saying there's nothing there. This song
No.
ping pongs behind telling
Doesn't give a shit about you.
you can never understand it. It's not about you, but also,
You.
but there's something really fucking big there that is beautiful and strange and magnificent that you should really just fucking sit and worship and let it wash over you
Yeah.
and not try to
Yes.
fit it in your boxes. That's different than
Exact- oh,
different than
that's perfect.
than nihilism. It's different.
Yep.
It's pulling down a veil and making you look at the raw input that's impossible to look at. And this song incorporates for me the overwhelming feeling of standing in front of that kind of truth, not a heavily constructed truth. And he does that so masterfully lyrically by using a bunch of phrases and images and other things that you recognize, but then he tweaks them in a way that make you just go, what the fuck? Like, count on your
Yeah.
fingers. It's the rule of the
Rule of
thumb.
thumb.
He doesn't say rule of thumb, which is the saying. He
The
says
thumb.
rule of the thumb,
Rule
which
of
just
the
opens it up
thumb.
to all sorts of other shit. But every line is like that. Every line refers outside of itself, but breaks down its reference in a way that it's no longer what the reference is. He's breaking
Yeah.
that reference apart in front of your very eyes to show you what's underneath. There's Gregson. He always agrees with me, this Gregson guy. It's
he
breaking that
does.
apart. And then with just Rob's, like, he's the clockwork behind this. He's that dun just the fucking clockwork behind it. Well, everything behind him is this chaos. So this song has the clockwork, it has the chaos, it has that beautiful melding of the two with this unholy holy priest just
Gregson, stop it.
it's okay,
Gregson.
I'd rather him just meow than you try to stop him. It's
All right,
better.
all right.
So it's this unholy sort of torrent, but it's not unholy. That's the wrong word for it. It's, pantheistic almost, and or anti-pantheistic. Anyway, it's fucking gorgeous. This song lives deep, deep in my subconscious. Deep, deep, deep.
I know
deep.
it does.
Sex Mad,
I know it.
Sex Mad, I really enjoy. It lives nowhere in my subconscious. It just doesn't. Not because it's not brilliant. I don't know. There's something for me. This is where I love this particular episode because it helps me to see how the people that are really deeply into the Andy era hear something in that I also hear, but what Rob is bringing in that other part of it.
I know you're absolutely fucking right.
Comes to a place that I've never ever heard any other band approach in any way.
Yep.
And I love that that's the same fucking band. It's the same goddamn band.
Exactly.
And they're right here in these two songs.
There's some for
side
everybody.
By side. They're side by
Something
side.
for everybody.
But
yes.
I think, and Andy has told us that 0 + 2 = 1 is his favorite on this album. He was not shy about saying that. I think this song is delivered from on high. I think it's this is Moses bringing a tablet down from the heavens and saying, I don't know, guys, here, you take a look what you think, but fucking here it is. And I'm just sitting there going like, well, I had this golden calf back here, but fuck that, man. I'm all about it. I'm down. I'm down. I'll learn I'll learn this weird mathematics and puzzle over it forever. And then realize that my puzzling over it is antithetical to the very nature of what you're trying to get me to do or hear in this song. So talk about the sound of one hand clapping, man.
Christ.
This song is absolutely
Oh.
the sound of one hand clapping in all respects. And I will never, ever, ever get enough of this absolute fucking masterpiece of a song. And Sex Mad has now become a song I deeply appreciate. When frankly, and this will lose me all sorts of cred, back in the day, I would skip it. I wouldn't listen to it. I just wouldn't. I didn't care about it. Now I love it. Now I fucking love Sex Mad. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, you do.
It's brilliant.
Oh God.
And I absolutely adore it. It will never approach 0 + 2 = 1 for me. That's just that. So fuck. Now I guess
Oh
we
my
got to head
God.
up to round 2. So
Wait, did Matthew get to talk yet?
well,
Yep.
not for round 2. Yeah, he did. He was started.
yeah.
So he's going to start us off with the round 2 part
I
of
don't
the topic.
remember it because it's been like
been
2
like
days
an hour.
ago. I know. Oh God,
and
is
5
anybody
years ago.
listening anymore?
I know.
Oh no.
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it
Let's
short.
Keep it succinct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew. Hi.
Hello. Sex Mad. I love the bass tone. It sounds like it's being played in a big underground tank of some kind. I love Andy's growls and grunts. Very little bothers me about the song. I love how driving it is and how, it's fun to shake your ass to. It's just exactly what it should be, which is a song about the id. I might introduce like a newbie to it because it's just so energetic, but it's not what I would want people to to have stick out about No Means No. Like that's not the song I would want them to remember, and yet it is totally iconic and totally essential to an understanding of No Means No and appreciation of No Means No. I think. My favorite bits in 0 + 2 = 1, the sound effects, the relentless bass, the onrushing sound, that right after the Dreams of a Mouse lyric. Yeah, very little bothers me about it except that I love Valley of the Blind and I want to hear it at the end of 0 + 2 = 1, but because of the how they're bonded. Would I introduce a newbie to it? No. Too scary. Too weird.
Too scary.
Yeah. Representative, yes, in that it's like distilled so much of what Rob is putting out there. This is like the pure form. This is the crystalline form.
Yep.
Yeah, musically, that's not super accessible. It is absolutely towering in places in terms of its place in their body of work. I would say I think it should be better known. But yeah, I think about the lyrics all the time. Probably at least, if not daily, every couple of days. I think about some aspect of it that reminds me of. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Nice. All right, Andy, your hand has been up for a while, and now it's your turn. So go for it.
It's a tough one for me. 0 + 2, I think, is the culmination of the commercial Andy era. It is where they had gone if they had wanted to become a popular, successful commercial band. And it still has some amazing songs on it, but I totally understand why it's like the demarcation point of where Andy thought, do I want to continue this? And the band thought, do I want to continue this? I think they were very happy where they were, and they played some games along. Well, this is what it will take to become more popular than this. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think 0 + 2 = 1 as an album is that whole dichotomy of objective versus subjective. I think it's probably one of my favorite albums, but I would never say I think it's their best album. I think Wrong has a place where just everything about it, even if it's not your favorite songs in the favorite order, Wrong, they got everything right at the time to make an album that just became a zeitgeist of that era of music. Like Wrong is No Means No's version of Milo Goes to College, New Day Rising, Minor Threat's first album. Like if you listed the 10 albums you needed to listen to that were understanding this kind of music, Wrong would be there. but it doesn't mean it's my favorite album. It doesn't mean I think it's where the best songs are. I think Zero plus Two equals One is where they really understood what they were doing and really started to write songs that were, this would project us forward, this would actually increase our audience. And I would love to go back to the point of like, is that really what they wanted with that?
Well, think about when it
because
came
I-
out, 91. After 91, there was grunge
and
and there was pop
Yeah.
punk.
Yeah, exactly.
if ever you want to do another show that is about how did the world change pre and post grunge, because my band and all my contemporaries from the band I was in were in the middle of that, of like the people like the band that were on my first ever 7-inch who got signed to Fat Records with NoFX versus all the bands who were playing, who got to play and headline Glastonbury, who had been playing a pub stage for 100 people back then. It dominates my thought on how that whole alternative music world lives. But to pull it all back down, Sex Mad, the song on the album, is everything about it is what I believed in and loved about this era of music.
Nice.
It is, there is so much in there, and there are so many parts, and there are so many weird parts, and there is so much authenticity into it.
Yeah.
And it was No Means No. It was their Martin Luther banging the nail into the church door. It was
Whoa.
No Means No saying, this is who we are. We understand music theory. We understand hardcore punk. We understand music theory. We are better musicians than any of you are. And we fuck around with this type of music way more than any of you do. And Sex
But
Mad,
they never sounded like they knew music. I mean, they sounded like they knew music theory, but they never prophesized,
Yeah.
or whatever the word is.
They weren't
They
being
sound-
super as supercilious as you're sounding.
Exactly. They never said like we're the shit. They weren't like Rick Wakeman and yes,
No,
and
no.
like look at
didn't
that. No,
needle.
but they did it subtly.
but
That's
they
what
did
was
it in
so
a
good
way
about it.
that people who understood, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I get,
Yeah.
that's the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
And that's why I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Why me and Strangey have always been friends is we've got the whole
Yep.
British comedy vibe of everything in our core of how we see the world. And No Means No have a vibe of, this is a weird tangent that
Yes.
unless you really understand it and you really take time to learn
Exact-
this,
Exactly.
it wouldn't be funny. It would just be weird. And why did
Yeah.
you do that? But to me and Michelle, there's always been an element of,
Yep. Look, we got a young one shirt.
you did this, and why would you do that? Well, we did it because it's exactly what
Because you
everyone
can.
expected us not to do.
Exactly.
And
yes.
I had a note, and this is for you, Michelle. Totally. I had
Are
a
you going to
note next
propose?
to.
Are you going to propose? To
Hey
me?
now.
Yeah, you're 3 hours
Make a
away.
note.
We got past that point. But my
Oh,
note
babe.
for my note for 0 plus 2 equals 1 is
Oh.
Rob is playing all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order.
In the right order. Oh God.
And my whole point of being on this podcast was to get Michelle to this point.
You got her there.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
But the point
Right.
is perfect, which is not my favorite line in all No Means No is nonsense is better than no sense at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and
And that is
It's
where
tattooed.
all their music
oh
all their
my
music lives.
God.
Yep. Tattoo word.
And 0 plus 2 equals 1 is a incredibly complicated song. But Sex Mad is an incredibly basic song that is made
Oh, Jesus
it just like
Christ.
exponentially grows as if I wanted to play anyone the song that really just grabbed them with enthusiasm and passion,
Yep.
and this is the energy I believe is in this music. Sex Mad would be that.
Nice.
I could
All right.
argue and make a case for 0 plus 2 equals 1. But Sex Mad, I would want that to be viscerally felt by the person I played it to.
That's interesting.
Makes
That's
sense,
interesting.
Oh my God.
All right, Strangey, what about you? Remember, we're on round 2, so you can talk about if they're representative.
Full
as
of
a
that,
whole.
Strangey.
Yeah.
No,
Would you introduce
I'm
a
really
newbie?
I'm gonna make it quick because we're running over and I'm a little bit drunk
A little.
and I've met my soulmate in front of y'all. Sex Mad is what I'm fucking picking. Are we picking
We're
songs
not picking.
here?
We're on round 2. We're not even voting yet. God damn it. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jordon. Jordon, I'm sorry.
I don't care.
I'm a little bit drunk.
That's good. Listen,
I read
if you read all your
paper.
stuff here, we'll keep it quick.
I already
don't-
did.
I don't have
I
much
thought
to-
we were on the vote.
No, we're not. I have just a little bit to add to this. So,
Oh,
in
God.
terms of are these songs,
Matthew, help
just,
me.
Just,
Matthew,
no, just chill out.
Matthew,
If I was
chill
out. If I was to say whether these two songs are representative of No Means No as a whole, of course they are. I mean, almost all
God.
songs are. 0 plus 2 equals 1 and Sex Mad are representative in different ways, right? Like, I don't know. I think we've, in a very sort of Plato's forms sort of way, talked about how they are of different eras, different feelings, different aspects of this band. They're absolutely representative of it. But I don't know. I mean, I would put 0 plus 2 as a high example of something very representative, and Sex Mad, I don't know. It doesn't get there for me. Not that it's not a great song, but I don't think I'd ever introduce the Sex Mad to anybody in this, just because of what the band means to me. Not because it's not a great song, but it's not the part of the band that I want to introduce people to. It's not the part that I
sorry.
just relax, chill out, Michelle. Quit apologizing, please. And then 0 plus 2 equals 1, I have introduced to people, but only certain people. And mostly because I want them to hear the poetry. And I think the lyrics serve the poetry really well. So it is a song I've used the newbies, I've used with newbies before, but only particular newbies, not too many. So no, I wouldn't think that either of these are too newbie worthy for me on that front, but they're both incredibly indicative of two different strains that I think have been brought out really well in the conversation in this podcast in a way that we've never really gone into so heatedly before, that I think is fucking great. Yes, Michelle.
Can I re-say my stuff?
If you need
I don't
to.
think I would ever play 0 plus 2 for 1. 0 plus 2 equals 1 for anybody because I don't think they'd get it.
It could
you got to
be,
work your way up to that.
You could, yeah.
You really have to work your way up to that.
It's intense, but there's some people I know that that have that intensity already. That's where I want to start them, because I want them to know, hey, this band goes all the way down.
But do you know what happens when you just say to somebody, hey, I want you to listen to this song? Listen.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
You're not there.
It's in my room in the dark with headphones. It's not like, here, listen to this in the car while we're driving down to the mall.
I know.
It's not that. All right, let's listen.
I know.
I'm going to be merciful I'm going to be merciful on the listeners. We're almost 3 hours into this. We're going to do this vote, which again feels like it's coming down to a dice roll.
Help me.
So Matthew, no, shut up, Michelle. It's Matthew's turn. Matthew, what do you got? Who's your vote?
Sex Mad is the id. 0 plus 2 equals 1 is the impotent, thwarted, eternally thwarted superego. And if I have to compare myself to one of those things, I got to give it to 0 plus 2 equals 1.
I knew it.
Andy.
Yeah, it's Sex Mad. I think it is. If I played anyone a song, if any context I put a No Means No song on, Sex Mad would be the one I put on.
There you go. Strangey.
Oh, baby.
Do
Sex
it.
Mad.
Strangey.
I already told you my vote.
Fuck, I know.
It's going to be
right.
Sex Mad.
All right.
Oh, my God. Listen
vote,
to John. Would you listen to John?
You've had your chance. Now my chance is to say...
We fucking were sitting in front of a fireplace with him.
I know.
And he was right there.
And my vote is 0 plus 2 equals 1, because I think it's from higher in the universe than Sex Mad could ever hope to be. And so
Are
we're
you
down to
really
another
going to roll the dice?
I'm going to roll
Are you
the
gonna
goddamn
roll the
I'm
dice.
going to work tomorrow. What's happening
And
here?
I'm really upset because I really, really don't want this dice roll to go wrong. So Andy's 1, I'm 2, Matt's 3, Michelle's 4. Fuck.
No, this. I'm calling the cops.
It's
Damn it,
1.
hey.
It's 1. It's Andy. Andy's out. 0 + 2 = 1 goes through.
Oh
Sex
my
Mad is
God.
out. Oh, thank God.
You fucking fucks.
You people,
Oh my-
this is
dice.
the anti Oh No Bruno lobby. Like, yeah, own this decision.
No.
Like, me and Strangey are gonna start a podcast that is pro Oh No Bruno.
If I
Yeah,
have
they're
to
gonna.
own it,
Andy and Strangey are gonna move to Amsterdam now.
do it. If I have to
Yes.
own, if I have to own it,
We're gonna. I'm gonna.
If I have
I've
to-
got this. I'm gonna grab this into the context of everything. We're just gonna
But-
play
but-
this.
but-
We're gonna play songs.
0 +
Oh
2
my
equals
God.
0 + 2 = 1 would be nothing without what Andy brought to it, which is a fucking enormous
Oh my God.
Yeah.
element.
totally.
It's a holistic song. So, all right, there you have it, folks. We're gonna wrap this up.
Oh
We
Jesus,
are at-
I'm really drunk, and I
I
think
know,
Andy
we're-
is too.
We're
and
gonna be at 3
I think
hours
if we
when I
were
add in the
together
clips. So
tonight,
we're gonna keep
it
this,
would
we're gonna
end
keep
up
this out. Listen,
pretty
everyone,
badly.
you've probably both broken this up into at least a couple of different listens. I would if I were you. And by this time, we're all pretty sloshed, especially 2 of us. So we're going to go ahead and read the outro. No Means Nothing is produced and edited by yours truly, Jordon Flato. Co-hosting and podcast graphics are by Matthew Kowalik. Michelle Strangers is our third, very drunk, and everyone's favorite co-host and official Foley artist.
Yep.
Shout out to our official mascot, Teddy. Hey, Teddy. And
Yes,
thank
Teddy.
you to
Don't
No
forget-
Means No for the use of Stock Taking as our intro and outro music. And
Oh,
just a
no.
reminder that good intent
Mom,
and
I'm
honesty
sorry.
do not
Mom,
redeem.
I'm sorry.
Good intent and honesty do not redeem stupidity.
You sick and tired of the same old thing? Or are you happy enough? Tell me, when there's so much becomes so little, when does too little become too much, when does so much become so little, when does too little become too much?
Oh shit.
For whatever that's
Oh.
fucking worth. All right,
Thanks for coming
folks,
on, Andy, as well.
Thanks for
No,
coming on,
hey,
Andy.
And Andy,
And,
make
uh,
sure Andy doesn't turn off his computer.
No,
Jordan.
no. Well, not only that, we
Oh,
still got to do
oh.
the. He gets to be here for the draw for next week. But Andy, you can't say
I don't
what
think
the
I can
songs are.
write.
It's
I
these
threw
are
my glasses.
these are going in the chat, Andy. So you'll see what the next host or next guest is up with. But you don't get to say anything out loud. No, no,
my fucking
no words.
soulmate right here. All right.
This is
Settle down.
This between No Means No and Morecambe and Wise is me and Strangey for 25 years.
All right, this is not a hard one for me. But here we go. I'm going to put it into chat. Oh, my computer is really not.
This is a special arrangement.
All right, there's your first one.
I don't see it written.
It's in the
It's in
chat.
This is a special arrangement.
Oh no, it's not. Sorry, I accidentally. Fuck it. Hold on. That's my fault. All right, there we go.
Oh my God.
Easy.
Oh wow, this is gonna be an interesting one too. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting episode. I don't know that we would call. Any
Oh
of these
wait, I
titles,
gotta write
but
it
they're
on
good.
the same paper. Oh my
okay.
God, Mom, I'm sorry.
Is your mom
I
really
was
listening
in
to
the
this?
right
Probably
week. That second
Oh,
pairing.
that second
yeah.
one's easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, don't turn off your computer because
Yeah,
you
do
gotta
not
make
turn off
sure
your
the
computer.
things
I'm gonna
in the
stop the
stuff.
recording.
Oh,
now.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
everyone for joining us. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Fuck off.
Oh God.